Dr. Stout and Mr. Perez. Mr. Pablo Perez is our administrator there at Branch Academy. He's going to be assisting today. And then we're also joined by Ms. Kimberly James. If you could please wave as part of our administration. We thank you and all other district employees. I saw Kirby Warneke coming in. If you can please wave as well, and all other district employees and or personnel, so we can acknowledge you and see you. Thank you. In addition, we like to give a special thanks to the district court staff that have joined us today and have really made this event possible. It is a unique endeavor in which it is, we hope, will be a start to even more and greater things. If you can please call your attention to our special guests. This is the Court and School Special Program that was actually kicked off in the spring of 2020. As a result of our spring 2020 experience, it was delayed. And so we are being able to kick it off this morning. It is an educational opportunity for students to learn about the court system, careers in criminal justice, the law, and the judicial system. And at this time, I'd like to introduce to you the Honorable Missy Maduri from the 347th District Court Judge, and the Honorable David Stith, the 319th District Court Judge.
Very much, Dr. Rodriguez. We definitely appreciate it. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, good. All right, I will just kick it off here, and then I will, mine's not going to speaker view. Can you just make sure that you all can hear me? All right, good morning, everyone. As Dr. Rodriguez introduced me, my name is Missy Maduri. I am the presiding judge of the 347th District Court. I'm hoping that this will start a conversation with your parents, or it will start a conversation with your administrators, or it'll start a conversation with your parents or anybody that you want to talk to about this. Courts and Schools started last year. We brought the actual courtroom with the help of Sheriff Hooper and brought all of the inmates to the schools. We did about 3 schools, and then unfortunately COVID shut it down. When I got a call from Dr. Stout to say, hey, let's do it again, I thought, wow, this is a great idea. Let's do this by Zoom. And so we are doing that. It's actually, sometimes we think it's going to be easier because we don't have Sheriff Hooper having to transport all of the inmates over to the individual schools. So I want to introduce a couple people, but before I do that, I want to tell you that the inmates that have volunteered to do this is a real court session. And when we start this court session, all of the court rules of the 347th District Court, which is my court, and the 319th District Court, all the rules are in play. In other words, there's no horsing around. Not only would you probably be in school or be in trouble at school, but you could be held in contempt of court. This is an actual court session, and I would like you to treat it as if it is obviously a court session. You will hear from we'll have 8 cases. You will hear from the prosecutors. You will hear from the defense attorneys, and then you will hear from the inmate at the end because they have all asked to speak to the kids. So without further ado, I am going to introduce Judge David Stith. He and I started this program last year. Judge David Stith, I'll turn it over to you if you want to say a few words.
I do. Good morning. Hope everyone's doing great this morning. Are y'all excited to be here? Shake your heads, yay. Right, it beats a little bit of school. I have an 8-year-old in school right now, and I'll tell you what, she's having a hard time with Zoom, so I know sometimes it can get a little bit tedious. But our goal, Judge Missy and our goal for today is to show you all a little bit about the criminal justice system and how it works. Now, just like Judge Missy said, these are actual court cases. So you're going to be hearing from people that are inmates or whatnot. And actually, I know at least I think a few are going to TDC. And so you're going to hear different acronyms being spoken. And I want to go over just a few of those right now. Like what I just said there, TDC, that's the Texas Department of Corrections. That means a person is going to prison. You might hear SATF. I don't know if we have anybody going to SATF, but that's our local inpatient drug treatment facility here that we have that's attached to the jail. There's another drug treatment facility that we have called Safe P, and that's basically, it's in the prison system, but it is a lockdown 9-month treatment facility. So there may be some people that go to that facility as well. You might hear a term revocation of probation. That means a person was put on probation, they've messed up in some way, and then I'm here to decide whether that person goes back on probation or they get sanctioned in some way or they go to jail. So kind of keep a little note. If you hear some words that are being spoken that you don't understand, just write them down, send a chat message, and then Judge Macy and I will address that at the end when we have questions. Also, hopefully we'll have time. If y'all have specific questions and you want to talk to Judge Missy or one of the DAs, I know Mark is on, some of the other DAs are on, or some of the law enforcement people. I know I even have my bailiff, my court manager in here as well. You can ask questions of them as well if you're interested in that field when y'all get through high school. Also, our court reporters are here, and at least my court reporter is here, right? Judge Missy, we're using mine. And she might be waving right now if you scroll through it. And you may have some questions for her. She would love to talk with y'all about a career in court reporting. They make great money. They're here with us in court every day. And we really, really need court reporters right now. That's a profession that's very, very hot. So she might want to talk with y'all if y'all are interested in talking with her as well. Let me see if I can find her and I can spotlight her real quick. Let's see.
Yeah, my reporter's on as well. If she just says hello, David, she'll pop up on the screen.
Okay, there she is. There's Leslie.
Good morning, everybody.
There you go. There she is.
Okay.
And my court reporter's on as well.
And did we have Mark get on yet? Is Mark, are you here, Mark?
Yeah,
Gonzalez?
I'm just waiting for you to be done, and then I'm going to introduce the rest of the individuals.
Oh, so you're trying to hurry me up. Is that what the deal is?
Mm,
All right.
yeah.
Let me think. I'm trying to think of what else I'm looking. I do want to also go over this real quick in case y'all can see it. So this is what we operate under. It's called a docket sheet. And so these are how the cases are going to be listed. We'll go over that a little bit more. And I'm looking, we have some pleas and I think one revocation possibly. So with that, Missy, I think I've covered a lot of the basic acronyms, so to speak, that we'll hear. So I think I'll pass it over to you now.
Okay, thanks, Judge Stith. I appreciate it. For those of you who don't know, Judge Stith is in his courtroom and I'm in my courtroom, and we are suite mates. So he's actually about 25 feet away from me in a completely different courtroom. So next, I'd like to introduce the other two people I am going to introduce are going to be Mark Gonzalez and Sheriff Hooper. So Mr. Gonzalez, he is your elected district attorney, Mr. Mark Gonzalez. Mark?
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here. A little different. I obviously am in my home, wearing a coat and tie for the first time in quite a long time. But I'm excited to be back in courts and schools. So the elected district attorney, obviously, I'm voted in just the way the judges are, and as well as the sheriff. And so we are in charge of prosecuting cases. And so you're going to see cases today, and my office is involved in these cases. I want to thank Jordy Schimmel, who's a felony chief who actually helped out in picking and finding some of these cases. And also you're going to be hearing from two of my staff members, Mr. Romaldo Solis out of the 319th. Mr. Romaldo Solis has been with our office quite some time. He's a very experienced and good attorney, and he is assigned right now to the 319th. So he's always there, typically with Judge Stith. And also I'd like to mention Shem Vinton, who is assigned currently right now to the 347th, Judge Maderi. So thank you to both of these gentlemen for participating in this program, along with all the other cases that they have to actually prepare for. And I'll also mention Shem is a great attorney as well. I know I said that about Rumi, but both of them work hard, and I'm very honored and thankful to have them in my office. I look forward to all the questions you have after the program is concluded. The way I got into the criminal justice system was I got in trouble when I was young. I didn't have courts and schools. I didn't have a lot of mentorship. And so we're hoping that today you will see some of these individuals who maybe made some mistakes, and you'll actually learn from that. That's our goal here today. And hopefully start conversations between you and your family members that are participating this morning, and ultimately avoid you from getting in trouble, and hopefully sparking some interest in further education, whether you want to join the sheriff's department as a jailer and work your way up to becoming a deputy on patrol, one day becoming a defense attorney or an elected DA, or even as high as a district judge or the region judge, just as Judge Maderi. So I will sit back here because I'm just kind of watching, and but I look forward to answering any questions that may arise after the program is concluded. Thank you for participating.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. We appreciate it. And thank you for having your prosecutors work so hard to find these cases. I would like to say Mr. Eric Flores is also on from the District Attorney's Office. He is also assigned to my court as well. And so we will have three of the prosecutors, Eric Flores, Shem Vinton, and Rumi Solis.
Judge, can I'm going to get in trouble if I don't say how awesome Eric is. I was scrolling through the through the Zoom pages, and I didn't see Eric logged on. I saw Shem and Rumi behind my backdrop there in the office. And so, Eric, thank you for being a part of our office, and we value your work and service to Nueces County.
All right, thank you, Mark. The next person I am going to introduce will be Sheriff J.C. Hooper. Sheriff Hooper is your elected sheriff. He is also the one that transported all of the inmates from the main jail and the annex jail over to the courts when we actually did them in person. He charge of security, and he did an absolutely fabulous job. Sheriff Hooper, if I can turn it over to you to say something to the kids.
Hey, thank you, Judge, and thank you for all of y'all for participating in this collaborative effort amongst all of the participants in the criminal justice system. And the Corpus Christi Independent School District has been one of the most meaningful events that I've been involved in, that I've been fortunate enough to be involved in my 2 years as a sheriff. The only thing missing with this technology is that human interaction that occurs in the courtroom. And it's always been one of the most significant things when we do this in a high school gym or a high school cafeteria, or when it occurs every day in the real courtrooms. One of the most significant and poignant moments is when the sentencing occurs and the family members are present. So that's the one thing that we'll be missing today in this technology presentation of this event. I think it still will and should be very meaningful for you because you'll get to see the process. The Nueces County Sheriff's role in this process is to keep the prisoner safe and secure. I'm sitting in the first floor of the Nueces County Sheriff's Jail, and above me are 5 floors with our brothers and sisters who have made mistakes. And there's about 500 inmates in the floors above me. There's another 400 over by the airport at the McKenzie Annex. And so this morning we have 924 of our friends and family in the system. And so as we work our way, and you'll see today, as they work their way through the criminal justice system, it's our role to keep them safe and secure, and to get them to the court, and to get them to the doctor, and to take care of every aspect of their lives while they're in our custody. And so I'm grateful to be with all of y'all this morning, and I look forward to the questions at the end of this event. Thank you. And thank you, Judge.
All right, Sheriff Hooper, thank you so much. And I would also like to thank CCISD and how hard they have worked in order to put this together. You know, the administrators, the staff, the principals, the teachers, I mean, they care so much about their students. And so it was so nice for them to be able to reach out to us. And I know that they miss seeing you all in person. Believe me, we miss life and everything as well. So if there's nothing further, I don't think I've forgotten anything else. Oh, one other thing, we have YouTube. If you wish to watch this later on or send it to anybody, it will be under Judge Missy Maderi, and you can see underneath my picture how to spell my name. So we will be on YouTube, and this will be broadcasted live as well. So Judge Stith, anything further before I call the first case?
No, I think I'm ready.
Okay, then I will call it this time. All right, at this time, the 347th District Court is now in session. At this time, I'm calling 19-FC32068, State of Texas versus John Hugh Burns. Can I get attorney announcements, please, from the litigants, starting with the state of Texas?
Eric Flores for the state, Judge.
right?
Sandra Eastwood for Mr. Burns.
Right. And Mr. Burns, where are you?
I believe he is experiencing some technical difficulties. I have been communicating with him by phone, and I am continuing to try to make sure he gets on, Your Honor.
That's a problem. He's late.
I apologize.
Oh, there he is.
All right, Mr.
I'm
Burns.
lagging.
Mr.
I
Burns,
apologize,
you're
guys.
late. Mr. Burns. Okay, can you hear me and can you see me?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we're having a problem with your audio. Can you hear me and see me?
I can see you. I can hear you.
Okay, you're gonna have to keep close to the monitor because you keep dropping off for us, okay?
Okay.
All right,
Can
thank
hear
you.
me
Yes, all right. Mr. Burns, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may put your hand down. Mr. Burns, would you state your name for me for the record?
John Hugh Burns.
Mr. Burns, are you the same individual who is charged by indictment with unauthorized use of a motor vehicle?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, are you a United States citizen?
Yes, Your Honor.
You speak and understand the English language?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're being represented today by Ms. Eastwood. Have you had enough opportunity to speak with Ms. Eastwood in regards to the defenses that you might have?
Absolutely.
And are you satisfied with her services?
Yes.
All right, I'm looking at the admonishments that the court has given to your attorney. There are certain places that I see your signatures and certain places that I see your initials. Am I to understand that every time I see your signature and every time I see your initials, what you're telling me is, Judge, I've reviewed this, I understand what rights I have, and I also understand what rights I am waiving. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to hold up page 9 of the admonitions at this time, and I see a signature on that page. Would that be your signature?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Counsel, based on your communication with your client, has he been able to assist you in his defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, at this time, Mr. Burns,
Mhm.
how do you plead to the charge in the indictment? Are you guilty or not guilty?
Pleading guilty.
Are you pleading guilty because you are in fact guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has anyone forced you or threatened you?
Absolutely not.
You're doing this knowingly, intentionally, and voluntarily. You're doing this knowingly, intentionally, and voluntarily.
No.
In other words, you're doing this because you did it, right? You're pleading guilty. You're saying to me, Judge, I'm pleading guilty. No one's forcing me to plead guilty. I'm pleading guilty because I'm in fact guilty. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Okay. At this time, then, I will accept your plea of guilty. Before we proceed forward, Mr. Flores, would you please give me a probable cause or give me some type of resuscitation of the facts, please?
Yes, Judge. So Judge, defendant Mr. Burns in 19 FC 3206H is charged with unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. And the probable cause statement is as follows, Judge. Let's see, there was a vehicle that was, the police officers on 7/5/19 were notified that a stolen vehicle, a truck, was on the Holly Road and Castoris Road and was traveling eastbound. They stopped it, Judge, and they located Mr. Burns in the vehicle. So the owner of the vehicle, excuse me, Judge, is a Mr. Juan Mayen, and he previously had reported that vehicle stolen.
All right, thank you, Mr. Flores. Does the state have any evidence to offer at this time?
Yes, Judge. So in exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty, the state agrees to recommend in 19 FC 3206 that the defendant be placed on community supervision. The court defer adjudication of guilt and place defendant on community supervision for 4 years with the following conditions of community supervision. He be have to get a GED or high school diploma, 120 hours of community service, felony theft conditions, Judge. In support of this, Judge, we have previously admitted State's Exhibit 1 and State's Exhibit 2.
All right, are there any objections for State's Exhibit 1 or State's Exhibit 2 from Ms. Eastwood?
No, Your Honor.
All right, they will be admitted into evidence at this time. State's Exhibit 1, which would be the plea bargain agreement that Mr. Flores just read into the record. And the second thing is what's called the judicial confession and stipulation. This is a packet where everybody has signed off on it. As you can see, it's very thick. This is all of the police reports that are going along with this case. So I will admit State's Exhibit 1 and State's Exhibit 2. We've had some drug issues on this case, what I understand. And so Mr. Hughes, or Mr. Burns, I'm sorry, has been sent to a treatment facility. Well, we're going to run that concurrently on that. So we're going to, at this time, sentence Mr. Burns. Ms. Eastwood, is there anything before I sentence him? Is there anything that you would like to say?
No, Your Honor. I believe that my client does have a few words whenever the court would like him to share.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Burns, based on your pleas of guilty and the evidence submitted, including the judicial confession and stipulation, I find the evidence substantiates a finding of guilt. However, I am going to defer that finding of guilt, and I'm going to place you on 4 years of deferred probation. What that means is you're going to be with me for the next 4 years. I tell everybody this, and that comes before me, especially on a deferred, because you're getting a break here today. Deferred is a great deal and it's a bad deal. It's a great deal if you do everything that you're supposed to do. It is a bad deal if you do not. So you're going to have to make probation work. You've gotten the treatment that you needed from SATF. You know, I don't put people on probation unless I want them to succeed. And I think that they can succeed. And Mr. Burns, we have met before in court. And so I'm hoping that you will take this opportunity to really soar, change your ways a little bit, and do well on probation. Mr. Burns, did you want to say anything to the kids that are on today? Mr. Burns?
Your Honor, it appears we are having technical difficulties. I believe he heard everything the court just stated. If we may recess for just a moment so that I can locate Mr. Burns.
Mr. Burns, are you on? No, I've got Melinda Ramirez in the waiting room, but that's not one of ours, I don't think. Mr. Burns? All right, this is what we'll do then. At this time, I will, let me finish the plea then, because I think he heard everything and I sentenced him, so I think we're good on that. But the only other thing I'll put on here, Ms. Eastwood, is at this time I am giving you your his right to appeal. That will be presented to you by Andrew, where he has signed off on it, and I have signed off on it as well. Okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. All right, what we're going to do at this time, Ms. Eastwood, I'd like you to stand on or stay on at this point so that we can get you back on when Mr. Burns signs back on. So that concludes our first case. I am going to turn it over to Judge Stith, who is going to be doing the second case at this time. Go ahead, David.
Thank you, Judge Missy. So before I call the case, and I actually do want to make sure that we have this person, so, and I don't know whether she is at the jail or the annex, but Esmeralda Almanza.
Judge, that's my case, and she is currently at the jail.
Okay, and so let's get her ready, and then while the jail is doing that, is she at the main jail or is she at the annex?
I believe she's at the main jail, Judge.
All right, main jail people, can you look for Esmeralda Almanza? And then while you're getting her, why don't we also, what we didn't mention, Judge Missy, is we didn't mention our defense attorneys that we have with here. And so I want to do that. And so what I would like is for each of the defense attorneys to say hello in their name, because you've heard from the district attorney's office and you heard from us judges and the sheriff's department, but another critical part of this procedure is having defense attorneys. And so you may have a lot of questions for defense attorneys. As a general, when I was a defense attorney, and I was a defense attorney for many years before I got on the bench, I would get a chance to speak to different schools, and there were a lot of questions. You know, one of those: how much money do you make? How do you do what you do? How do you defend somebody you know is guilty? And so I'm sure our defense attorneys are ready and willing to answer those questions once we get there. But if y'all wouldn't mind, as long as you're in speaker view, why don't you just go and say hello real quick? William Patrick, why don't we start with you since I see you on the screen?
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is William Patrick Delgado. I'm a defense attorney with the Cassidy, Delgado, and Olivares law firm.
And then Mario?
Hi, everyone. My name is Mario Olivares. I'm the Olivares from the Cassidy, Delgado, and Olivares law firm. It's nice to be here today.
And then Sandra, I know we just heard from you, but do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Sandra Banuelos. I'm with the 319 District Court. I'm the court manager.
That is my court manager, but I thank you, Sandra, but I also met Sandra Eastwood.
Oh, yes, sorry,
I
Judge.
always get mixed up in court when he says Sandra, I always answer, she answers. Yes, I'm Sandra Eastwood. I'm a defense attorney, and I'm very happy to be here today. I appear quite a bit in state court and then in federal court. Thank you.
All right, Gabriel.
Good morning. My name is Gabriel Vasquez. I'm with my own law firm, the Law Office of Gabriel Vasquez, and I'm very excited to be here today.
George.
Good morning. My name is George P. Ha. I'm a criminal defense lawyer here in Corpus Christi.
And Deanne.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Deanne Torres, and I am a partner at the Torres Law Firm here in Corpus. And I hope you guys enjoy what we are watching today. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. And then Abel, are you here as well?
I let him in. He should be here. Let's try, let's do Cecil Starcher next.
Okay.
Cecil.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I'm a defense attorney here in Corpus Christi, and I enjoy being here and doing what I do for a living, and I'm glad you guys are participating today.
All right, David, before you proceed forward and call your case, Mr. Burns has joined us. Mr. Burns, can you hear me now? Mr. Burns, can you hear me now?
I don't see Abel.
Mr. Burns, can you hear me now? I feel like one of those old AT&T commercials, right? Can you hear me now? All right. Well, I don't know where Mr. Burns went. So let's, David, or Judge Stith, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. And so I need to make sure Abel is here, who is the defense attorney. I was told he was here, and yet I don't see him and he didn't respond. Sandra, court manager Sandra, have you seen Abel?
I'm talking to him right now, Judge, to get on.
Okay.
Already, he was on. I think he got kicked out. David, your first case to call is with Mr. Olivares.
Oh, okay. Okay. No problem. Then let me go ahead and call 20 FC 0675-G, State v. Esmeralda Almanza. And let me get appearances, please.
Romano Solis for the state.
Mario Olivares, representing Esmeralda Almanza, Judge.
And Ms. Almanza, are you here? I don't, because of the amount of people here, I'm having a hard time scrolling through everybody. Should be at the jail.
Do we have the court call group from the jail on yet?
We do. I think we got him.
I've got Annex.
I got Almanza. I found him. Can you speak, Almanza, so we know you're here?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, there we go. All right, let me switch it back to speaker view now that we have everybody here. Ms. Almanza, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you can put your hand down. All right, so let me go ahead and look through the file real quick before we get started. It looks to me, State, are we operating forward on a felony information? Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor. While the case was getting ready to be presented to the grand jury, Ms. Almanza and her attorney agreed to proceed by way of information.
All right, so just for everybody's knowledge before we get started, the way that felony cases normally proceed is that when a case gets filed, it gets taken to a grand jury, and a grand jury is a group of people that hear evidence on a case and decide whether or not the case goes forward. Now, it doesn't have to go that way, and that's what's going to happen in this case. If the state and the defense agree, we can proceed forward on a felony case by what's called a felony information. I have to approve that, but what that means is we bypass the whole grand jury proceeding and we go into the plea without it taking the time that it normally goes through. Now, Ms. Almanza, having heard me say that, are you okay with this case not going through the grand jury proceeding and us proceeding forward on a felony information?
Yes, I am.
All right. Are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
Do you speak and understand English?
Yes, I do.
I know you've told me you're a citizen, but if you're not a citizen, a conviction for this offense would be grounds for deportation and or exclusion from the United States. Do you understand this?
Yes, I do.
Have you ever been treated at MHMR or another mental health care provider?
No, I've done what is called like evaluations with them over the phone.
All right. Have you ever been diagnosed with any kind of mental illness?
No.
Are you clear-headed today? Do you understand what's going on in these proceedings?
Yes, I do.
All right. Mr. Olivares, is your client competent?
Yes, Judge, I do believe my client's competent and she's been able to help me with these in her defense.
All right, then I will find that she is competent. Ms. Almanza, I want to ask you a few questions first about some paperwork that you signed to make sure that we're all on the same page. Did you go over this document with your attorney?
I did.
All right, did you understand that by going through this document and signing it and initialing it in certain places, that you're giving up rights in this case, your rights in this case?
Yes.
All right, here, you're talking to me, so you're waiving your right to remain silent. And we're here on a plea, so you're waiving your right to a jury trial. You understand that?
Yes.
All right. And understand that if there's a plea bargain and I accept that plea bargain, you won't have any right to appeal without my permission. Do you understand that as well? All right. Then state, actually, before we hear a little bit about the case, and Mr. Scholl, can you mute yourself, please? And before we go on about the case, let me ask you, to this felony information, how do you plead? Are you guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
And are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
I am.
Has anyone threatened or forced you to get you to enter your pleas of guilt?
No.
All right, State, can you tell me a little bit about this case?
Yes, Your Honor. This is a case that arose on February 15th of this year. It was approximately about 3:22 in the morning. Officers with a CCPD were called down to the HEB on the Alameda and McCall in reference to a suspicious person. The person who called dispatch advised that there was a female banging on the doors of the HEB. As officers arrived, they did make contact with Ms. Almanza. At first, she identified herself as Esmeralda Herrera, and then soon after that, she identified herself as Esmeralda Conde. However, CCPD officers were able to look on eye leads and were able to identify her as Esmeralda Almanza due to some tattoos that she had and some booking photos in the past, and also her date of birth. Based on that, officers also noticed, it appeared, she appeared a little delusional and paranoid to the officers because she kept insisting that they were not real police officers, and she was on the phone with her mother at the time and was asking her mother to call the police because there were some individuals that were following her around and claiming to be police officers. So based on that, and based on the officers seeing that she had red, watery eyes, dilated pupils, slurred speech, they did believe that she was under the influence of a narcotic. So she was arrested at that time for public intoxication. She was subsequently transported to the CDC, and while being processed at the CDC, officers did find some crack cocaine on her person.
All right, and so Ms. Almanza, from what we just heard, what was going on at the time? What were you doing?
It was the night of my birthday. I was supposed to spend the night somewhere, and arguments ended up coming about with the person I was supposed to stay and spend the night at, and I ended up leaving walking because my birthday was on February the 14th.
Okay. And so you understand that apparently you were using drugs at the time, is that right?
Correct.
And so by using drugs, it's ended up you up here, is that right?
I'm sorry?
And by using drugs, you ended up here in front of me, is that right?
Yes.
So what is the plea bargain agreement state?
The agreement, Your Honor, is that she be sentenced to 2 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice State Jail Facility. However, we are going to further recommend that be suspended. She be placed on 2 years community supervision. We did not discuss a fine. We are going to order that she pay the DPS lab fee and the CC storage fee, and Ms. Almanza has agreed to address her substance abuse issues and attend the substance abuse treatment facility.
All right, with the understanding that she's agreeing to go through our substance abuse treatment facility, then I will approve that plea bargain. And do we have my probation officer on here?
Yes, Judge, I'm here.
Do you want to tell me a little bit, or can you tell us a little bit about the substance abuse treatment facility that she's going to be going through?
The SATF is a substance abuse treatment facility. It is located here in Corpus behind the facility, behind the annex, I'm sorry. It's one of the, it's rather, it's not a lockdown facility, but they are required to stay on the premises.
And if they leave, then a warrant for the arrest will be issued as well. Is that right?
That is correct. They are not allowed to leave. If they do abscond for some reason, for whatever reason, a warrant is issued for their arrest and they are brought back before you, Judge.
And then, if I remember correctly, not only do they have to go through the inpatient part of that, but then there's also a follow-up part where they have to have a job and they have to attend counseling and meetings. And that's another follow-up for another 3 to 4 months. Is that right?
That is correct. There is an aftercare as well to help the defendant continue on the correct path.
Okay. Ms. Almanza, obviously, I'm very happy that you're here. I'm asking for help. I'm going to give you that, but make sure when you're in SATF that you take it seriously, okay? I want to make sure that you do a good job in there. Don't leave, obviously, and learn some things while you're in the program, okay?
Okay.
All right, based upon the defendant's plea of guilt and the evidence submitted, I'm going to find the defendant guilty. I'm going to assess punishment at 2 years confinement in the state jail facility. However, I'm going to probate that for 2 years, subject to the following conditions. I'm not going to order a fine at this time. I am going to order SATF, and I'm going to order 120 hours of community service. Ms. Almanza, have you completed your, did you go through high school or complete your GED?
Yes, I did. I'm actually in the RDA surgical tech. I have my associates.
Okay. All right. So I won't make that a condition. 120 hours community service. Felony drug conditions. I'm going to order a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I think that's it. Ms. Almanza, I'm going to pull you back in at some point. So make a note, Sandra, once she gets to the last part, the later part of SATF, I want her to come back and see how she's doing, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, anything else from the state or the defense?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Judge, nothing else on this case, but I did want to make both courts aware. Eric Flores, his internet and power went out at his house, and so it's going to take him a little bit of time to get to the office so he can get back online.
All right, no problem. Ms. Almanza, before we're done with your case, did you want to, and I don't know if you've been asked this or not, did you want to say anything to the students that are here? It's not required, but you certainly have a right to if you'd like to.
Basically, stay on the right path. Don't try and make yourself look cool with kids just because you want to please your friends. Stay on the right path and pretty much don't do it. Stay in school and it's not worth it. It's not worth it, not one bit, because it comes with a bunch of consequences in the end.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being here. And that'll be all done in this case.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you very much. Missy, back over to you.
I got it. All right, at this time, we are going to, and Mr. Burns, he signed in again. Mr. Burns, can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor, I apologize.
All right, no worries. Mr. Burns, do you want to say anything to the kids?
Yeah, absolutely. This is, unfortunately, these mistakes that we've made in our lives, these are gonna be carried with us for the rest of our lives. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up, and definitely tell you how proud I am that y'all are, coping with everything that's going on and still able to get your school in there and stuff. That is very important. I graduated in 2004, and I was pushed to go to college, and I think that's where my bad choices began. You guys, I think y'all are going to be the generation that changes the world. Just continue striving to be the best. Don't worry about impressing anybody, and do what you love. I found out that passion is a great driver. I've put all that stuff to the side, trying to impress other people, and that has gotten me in a lot of trouble. It's gotten me in this situation I'm in today. I'm very fortunate for my attorney and very fortunate for Mr. Derry for giving me this opportunity and this second chance. Best thing I can say, guys, is stay in school, because it is the best thing for you. I wish I would have stayed in school. I would have found better friends. Fortunately, I made some poor choices, and it's costing me dearly. That's all I've got, guys. I just want to tell you how proud I am for y'all, the courage and to do this schooling online. I know it's tough out there. Keep your hopes up. This stuff is going to pass. Things will return back to normal. But I just wanted to express how proud I am of the kids. So that's all I got.
Burns, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I will be seeing you throughout your probation term. All right. Thank you very much. And you are excused from the court.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Eastwood, for that as well. We are going to proceed on to the next case. Court calls cause number 19 FC 4798H, State versus Jerry Rodriguez. May I have attorney announcements, please?
Good morning, Your Honor. George P. Ha here for Mr. Rodriguez.
Jim Vinton for the state of Texas.
Judge, Mr. Rodriguez is present. Let me make sure that he's unmuted.
Rodriguez, can you hear me? Can you unmute yourself, please? All right, Mr. Rodriguez, can you unmute yourself? There you go. I see you now.
Say hi. Hello. Good morning.
All right, thank you. This is an agreed recommendation, Mr. Vinton. Okay, I see it. I see your notes now. All right, court calls cause number 19 FC 4798H, State versus Jerry Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez, can you hear me and can you see me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, would you raise your right hand for me? Can you raise your right hand so I can see it? Thank you. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right. Would you state your name for me for the record? You can put your hand down, Mr. Rodriguez. Would you state your name for me for the record?
Jerry Rodriguez.
And Mr. Rodriguez, are you the same Jerry Rodriguez who is charged by indictment in this cause number with a possession of a controlled substance, to wit, heroin? Are you that same individual?
Yes.
Are you a United States citizen?
Yes.
You speak and understand the English language?
Yes.
You are being represented today by Mr. George P. Ha. Have you had enough opportunity to speak with Mr. P. Ha in regards to the defenses that you might have?
Yes.
And are you satisfied with his services?
Yes.
I'm looking at the admonishments that the court has given to your attorney. There are certain places that I see your signature and certain places that I see your initials. Am I to understand that every time I see your signature and every time I see your initials, what you're telling me is, Judge, I've reviewed this, I understand what rights I have, and I also understand what rights I am waiving. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Piha, based on your communication with your client, is he competent to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. He's competent and he was able to defense.
Is this a state jail felony or is that a,
Second degree.
oh, it's a second degree. I'm sorry, I didn't see the amount. So Mr. Rodriguez, you're charged with a second degree felony, which means that the possession of the controlled substance is anywhere from 4 grams up to 200 grams in order for it to be a second degree felony. And so your range of punishment on this case is a second degree felony, which means that you have the opportunity or the danger of being sentenced anywhere from 2 to 20 years in prison and also up to a $10,000 fine. Do you understand that range of punishment?
Yes, I do.
All right. To the charge in the indictment, how do you plead? Are you guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Are you pleading guilty because you are in fact guilty?
Yes.
Has anyone forced you or threatened you?
No, ma'am.
In other words, you've done this knowingly, intentionally, and voluntarily. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I will accept your plea at this time. Mr. Vinton, may I have a probable cause or a facts on this case? And also then I will have you offer any evidence that you'd like.
Yes, Your Honor. On October 16, 2019, officers with CCPD were dispatched in reference to report that a male was passed out in a vehicle on the city's west side. When officers arrived, they located the suspect vehicle and made contact with the passed out individual, who was later identified to be Jared Rodriguez, the defendant in this case. He was described as being groggy and nervous, and officers were able to observe some physical evidence of drug use on the defendant. The defendant was asked to step out of his vehicle, and when he did so, officers observed him placing something into his right pants pocket. When he began to walk towards the officers, they noticed that that object that he placed in that pocket caused a bulge, and they feared that it was a weapon. So pursuant to their practices, they began to pat him down to search for weapons. And when they did feel that bulge, the officer, who had been a veteran of the PD for 25 years, suspected that that bulge was actually narcotics. After they finished the pat-down search, the defendant tried to push away or move away from the officers, at which time a struggle began, after which the defendant was arrested. The bulge, or that object that was in his pocket, was removed and suspected to be black tar heroin, which was actually later confirmed when the drugs were tested at the DPS crime laboratory. The amount of the drug in question was 6.09 grams, which is why we're at a second degree level. Because heroin is classified as penalty group 1, he's charged in this case with possession of controlled substance penalty group 1 between 4 grams and 200 grams. And to that end, in exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty to the charge in the indictment in 19 FC 4798H, the state recommends that he be placed on 4 years deferred adjudication probation, that he pay restitution to Texas DPS for the drug analysis in the amount of $180, that he abide by the following conditions of probation, that he submit to a TAP evaluation, and that he adhere to any recommendation resulting from that evaluation, that he go to SATF, that he be placed on felony curfew, that he complete 240 hours of community service, that he attend the felony victim impact panel, that he be placed on felony drug conditions, that he pay $65 to CCPD for the storage fee. And in exchange for his plea in this charge, Your Honor, the state agrees to dismiss 20 FC 2989H, which is a state jail felony possession. State has offered states 1 and 2 via e-file, Your Honor.
No objection.
All right, States Exhibit 1 and 2 will be admitted into evidence at this time. Mr. Rodriguez, how old or how young of a man are you?
47 years old.
How old?
47 years old.
All right, you are way too young to keep doing this, and you are way too old to have not learned your lesson at this point. I am going to accept the plea. I am going to sentence you based on your plea of guilty and the evidence submitted, including the judicial confession and stipulation. I find the evidence substantiates a finding of guilt, but I am going to defer that. And I'm going to place you on 4 years of deferred. For the individuals that are watching, what that means is if he successfully completes this, which we hope he does, obviously, then this will be able to basically, be deferred, and it'll basically come off of his record with some filings that they have to do. And if it's, so I'm going to give you deferred. How many, does he have a prior convictions on for POCS, Mr. Vinton?
From the early 90s, he does have a delivery of controlled substance.
So Mr. Rodriguez, heroin is your drug. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
All right. Are there any other drugs that are mixed in there, or is heroin your drug of choice?
No, just heroin.
All right. Heroin is rough. Okay. You know, I mean, I can't tell you, I've never done it, but you know, I've seen people and I've seen it destroy lives here. And so I'm going to go along with probation on this case only because you are going to be sent to our substance abuse treatment facility. That is an inpatient facility. Do I have Melinda on here for probation? Melinda, are you on for probation?
I am, Judge. I'm here.
All right. Can you explain to me or explain to the kids real quick what SATF is, Substance Abuse Treatment Facility, and how long of a program it is?
Yes, Judge. SATF is a 6 to 9 month inpatient drug facility, and it holds up to about 84 beds. So the defendant gets counseling in the facility, and they have to do about 100 hours of community service also in the facility as part of the program. They do hold female and male in this facility, and there's different tracks. So I believe on track 2, they can start working, but then they have to come back. So there's different levels in this facility. There's also a 1-year aftercare program. So the defendant is supervised intensively.
Thank you very much, Ms. Vasquez. So sorry, I appreciate it. All right, Mr. Rodriguez, so you're in for 6 to 9 months on this. Do you understand this?
Yes, I do.
And Mr. Rodriguez, let me explain something. SATF, Substance Abuse Treatment Facility, is one of our best programs. I mean, I know the judges believe in it. Whoever's talking, can they mute too? You know, SATF is really a great program. And so basically what I want you to do when you're in there is imagine that you have a toolbox that is empty, and you walk into SATF on the first day and you say, okay, I'm here to learn. I'm here to basically put tools in my toolbox, because after the 6 to 9 months, that toolbox that you have, right, is going to be full of all of the things that they have taught you. So every day I want you to put another tool in that toolbox so that you have that imaginary toolbox when you get out on the street. Because being in SATF, you're going to be surrounded by therapy. But when you get out into the real world, those same things are going to be around. Mr. Piha, I'm going to mute you. And so those things are still going to be around. So take your imaginary toolbox, learn from it. And when you get back out on the streets, you're going to have those triggers, but they're going to teach you how to deal with those triggers in SATF. And so open your heart, open your ears, and listen to what they do. Because I said earlier, you are way too young to keep on this path of destruction, and you're way too old to have not learned this at this time. So we're going to give you an opportunity to be on probation. We're going to give you an opportunity to learn that heroin is not something that you should do, that it will probably end up killing you. And if it doesn't end up killing you, it'll end up being the reason that I send you to prison. So make sure that you understand this. You have 2 to 20 years on this case, which means if you come back on a motion to revoke your probation, then you will have issues with me. Mr. Rodriguez, I want you to succeed. I don't put people on probation that I don't want to succeed. So I will be reviewing with you when you released or are released from SATF after the 6 to 9 months, and I will have a review with you, and I'm hoping to hear great things from you. You have your right at this time. Did you offer your State's Exhibit 1 or 2, Mr. Vinton?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, State's Exhibit 1 and 2. Mr. Piha, do you have any objection to 1 or 2?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, those are admitted. At This time I am going to sentence you to 4 years of deferred SATF, all of the conditions of probation that the state's attorney read onto the record. I'm giving you a right to appeal through your attorney, Mr. Piha. Andrew, my amazing court manager, will have that for you. You can pick that up or he can mail that to you. Mr. Rodriguez, I want to thank you for participating in the Courts and Schools program. Do you want to, it's not mandatory, but do you have anything that you would like to say to the kids?
Yes, I do. I got something I wrote down for them. Hello, children. Well, it's an honor. It's an honor. I was blessed to be able to give you children this speech. I hope and I pray you all find it in your hearts to learn from my mistakes. I was never given this chance where a person with a bad lifestyle. Me, myself, I've learned the hard way, where I really do regret all my bad decisions. I always thought these kids were my friends. Just know good friends are very hard to come by. But family is always number one. I've learned not to just trust anyone. At age 14, my so-called friend gave me drugs. We all thought it was cool. Drugs ruined my life. I've hurt not only myself, but also my family. I stopped going to school. I stole, I robbed for drugs. My so-called friends weren't there when I was sent when I was sent up to prison. Excuse me. I lost out on a lot. Family members passed away. I was all alone. My father got sick, just worrying about me. I finally came home. Then my father passed away. It was so sad. I really didn't have the chance to do fun things. All memories I have are short and sad. Drugs are not good at all. Now that I am older, I didn't finish school. It's so hard to find a good job. Plus, not only did drugs ruin my life, but my health is not all that good. So I'm asking, please learn from my mistakes. Stay in school, say no to drugs, appreciate life, and love your family. Be careful on who you chose as friends. Thank you all for giving me this chance to share a little about my life. I encourage you all to stay focused and strive for a beautiful future. Good luck and guidance to all. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez, thank you very much. That absolutely came from the heart. And I will say this, and I'm talking to the kids too, you hear stay in school, don't do drugs, and it becomes a catchphrase that you hear from grownups all the time. But Mr. Rodriguez is an absolute example of what he has just spoken about. And if you cannot believe the words that come out of his mouth, I don't know how you will get this lesson. Mr. Rodriguez, thank you very much for speaking from the heart. We appreciate it. And thank you very much. Mr. Rodriguez, you are free to go at this time. You are going to be turning yourself in on Monday. I've spoken to your attorney and the state's attorney. You will appear in the 347th District Court. So here, you'll come where I am right now on Monday, and you'll turn yourself in to David Alanese, who is my bailiff. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. All right. You are free to go. All right. And on that, or Judge David Stith, I'm going to turn it over to you for State versus Eric Martinez.
All right. I'll call CR 15-003356-G, State v. Eric Martinez. Let me get appearances on that case.
Romano Solis for the state of Texas.
And Your Honor, Cecil Strach for Mr. Martinez.
All right. And where's Mr. Martinez? Is he here with us? Is he at your office?
He's at the annex, Judge.
Okay. Let's see. Annex people, do we have Eric Martinez, please?
Sir, he's here.
All right, good. All right, Mr. Martinez, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
You can put your hand down. Is your name Eric Martinez?
Yes, sir.
Are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
Do you speak and understand English?
Yes, sir.
I know you've told me you're a citizen, but if you were not a citizen, a conviction for this offense would be grounds for deportation and or exclusion from the United States. Do you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever been treated at MHMR or another mental health care provider? Are you on any kind of medication today that affects your ability to think clearly?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand what's going on here today?
Yes, sir.
Is your client competent, Mr. Starcher?
He is, Your Honor.
All right, I'll find him to be so. Mr. Martinez, have you gone over with your attorney the charges pending against you in this indictment?
Okay.
And it looks like my understanding is there are three, even though we have one case file, we have three different charges in there. One is possession of a controlled substance. That's a state jail felony. Then there's a tampering, fabricating physical evidence. That's a third-degree felony. And then there's an assault on a public servant, also a third-degree felony. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So looking at that, at those charges, Mr. Martinez, the range of punishment for a state jail felony is anywhere from 6 months to 2 years in a state jail facility and up to a $10,000 fine. The third-degree felonies are a little bit different, and those carry a punishment range of anywhere from 2 years to 10 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. Do you understand that? And you have to answer out loud so we can hear you.
What's that?
You have to answer out loud enough so that we can.
I understand you, Judge. Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, understand that if there's a plea agreement in this case, and I accept that plea agreement, you won't have any right to appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, have you gone over with your attorney the court's admonishments? That is the court's warnings in this case.
Okay.
Have you gone over that with your attorney?
No.
You haven't gone over this document with your attorney?
I've talked to him on the phone. Yeah.
That's fine. I understand with COVID, it's not really easy to actually see people in person, but as long as you've gone over it over the phone and you understand it, that's enough. Okay. All right. Do you need any more time to go over this with your attorney, or do you understand all of your rights and your waiver of rights?
Can I speak with my attorney?
You sure can. Somebody's gonna need to make me co-host so I can put him into a breakout room real quick.
Do you want to skip this? Yeah. Hey, Andrew, if you're there, put annex, and I thought this was already done. Mr. And the defense attorney should have been done.
It's already been done, Your Honor.
Sorry?
It's been done. I think he just has questions for his attorney.
Oh, okay. Do you want to put Mr. Starcher in a room with the annex, Andrew?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you want to go to the next case, Missy?
Yeah, I will go on to the next case. All right. I just hope they're not in the annex. Okay, just a second. We're going to go on to Ezekiel, sorry. Munguia. So I've got Gabriel Vasquez on that one. All right. I'm just going to proceed forward. Judge Stith, are you good with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right. Court
Judge,
calls. Yep.
Before we begin, Mr. Munguia would be probably at the annex.
Oh, he is at the annex?
I'm not sure if he's at Angel or at the annex, but he's going to be at one of them. And if he's at the annex, we can't proceed because of.
Okay. Can you tell me where Munguia is? Officer Collins, do you have Munguia in the annex as well?
No, Munguia should be at the main jail.
Okay, then I'll proceed on that. Thank you. Andy, are you putting him in a room?
Yes, ma'am, Judge. I just want to make sure that you were okay. I didn't want to open the annex room if they were still there yet. I'm opening the rooms now.
Okay, great. Then I'll get main jail going on.
Good morning, Judge.
All right. Hi, guys. How are you? Can I get Ezekiel Munguia for me, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Eskiel? How do you pronounce his name?
Eskiel Munguia, Judge.
Eskiel. All right. I'm sorry. I was renaming him. All right. Thank you, Gabriel.
He's here. Right here. Right here.
Okay. Mr. Munguia, court calls 19 FC 4795, State versus Eskiel Munguia. Can I get attorney announcements for the record?
Tim Vin for the state of Texas.
Judge Gabriel Vasquez for Mr. Munguia, and we're here on 2 cases, Judge, also on 20 FC 0489.
I'm sorry, my apologies. You're right, we sure are. Let me get that one, hold on. Yes, 20 FC 0489 and 19 FC 4795H. Okay, Mr. Munguia, would you raise your right hand for me? Well, first of all, Mr. Munguia, can you hear me and can you see me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may put your hand down. All right, Mr. Munguia, state your name for the record. Are you Ezekiel Munguia?
Yes, ma'am. Ezekiel Munguia.
All right. Eskiel, I'm sorry, I keep renaming you. Are you the same individual who was charged by indictment in this cause number with a burglary of a vehicle with the 2 prior convictions on that? And also the second one would also be burglary of a vehicle. Are you the same individual that is charged by indictment in these cause numbers?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you a United States citizen?
Yes.
You speak and understand the English language?
Yes, ma'am.
You're being represented today by counsel. Have you had enough opportunity to speak with Mr. Vasquez in regards to the defenses that you might have?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with his services?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
All right, I'm looking at the admonishments on both of these cases where there are certain places that I see your signature and certain places that I see your initials. Am I to understand that every time I see your signature and every time I see your initials, what you're telling me, Judge, or what you're telling me is, Judge, I reviewed this, I understand what rights I have, and I also understand what rights I'm waiving. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, counsel, based on your communication with your client, is he competent to proceed?
He is, Judge.
He's been able to assist you in his defense.
He has, Judge.
All right. Mr. Munguia, to these 2 different charges. Well, first of all, do you understand that this is punished it's a state jail felony and it can be punished up to 180 days or 180 days up to 2 years in a state jail facility. Do you understand that's the range of punishment on this?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. To these charges, and to these charges, how do you plead? Are you guilty or not guilty?
Guilty, Your Honor.
All right. There are also enhancement paragraphs on the indictment. And what that means is that instead of this being a misdemeanor, because you have been previously convicted of other burglaries of vehicles, that it is now enhanced to a state jail felony. So to those enhancements that you've been previously convicted of these offenses of burglary of vehicle, how do you plead to that? Are they true or not true?
True, Your Honor.
All right. So you're pleading guilty to the burglary of a vehicle because you're guilty, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're pleading true to the enhancement paragraphs that you've been previously convicted of these offenses because they are in fact true. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
In both of the cases, I'm asking you. So you're entering a plea to both cases, cause number 19FC 4795H and 20FC 0489H, to both of those guilty and that the enhancements are true. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. At this time, I will accept your plea. State's attorney, if I can I get some information, probable cause statement, and the facts on this case? And I'll also have you offer your plea bargain agreement and judicial confession at that time.
Yes, Your Honor. Both cases, 19 FC 4795H and 20 FC 0489H, are both alleged to have occurred on the same day, October 15, 2019. The first case, a male was reported to be breaking into a vehicle in the parking lot of Bolero. A witness to that told the reporting party this information, and the reporting party went out to the parking lot and did observe a male later identified as the defendant rummaging through a vehicle. The defendant had parked his truck behind the vehicle that he was burglarizing at the time. The reporting party was able to use her phone to take pictures of the defendant's truck, his license plate, and his photo while he drove away. That those pictures were given to the auto theft task force at CCPD, where they were able to make a ready identification to the defendant, Ezequiel Munguia, based on his past burglary of vehicles. In the second case, again, alleged to have occurred on October 15, 2019, there was a small traffic accident at House of Burgers in the parking lot. The defendant was alleged to have backed into a parked car. When the police arrived, the staff at that restaurant reported to the police that the defendant had been breaking into vehicles a day prior, and there were other reports from burglary vehicles around that area at that same time. When the small incident did occur, a witness to the accident told police that the defendant, Ezequiel Munguia, had actually thrown a backpack over the fence line in the parking lot. The witness led the police to that backpack, where they located stolen property that had been reported from a different restaurant earlier that evening. Based on the breadth of evidence, the police arrested Mr. Munguia and charged him with BOV. To that end, Your Honor, an agreement or an exchange with the defendant's pleas of guilty in 19 FC 4795H and 20 FC 0489H to the charges in the indictment, the state recommends that he be confined in a state jail facility for a period of 20 months, that the cases run concurrently with each other, and state has offered states 1 and 2 of the EFI, Your Honor.
No objection, Judge, to states 1 and 2.
All right, States Exhibit 1, I thought I was on mute, sorry about that. States Exhibit 1 and States Exhibit 2 will be admitted into evidence at this time. Mr. Munguia, you understand what the sentence of this court is going to be, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, at this time, based on your plea of guilty and the evidence submitted, including the judicial confession and stipulation, I find the evidence substantiates a finding of guilt. I am going to find you guilty of this burglary of a vehicle on both of these cause numbers. I also find the enhancement paragraphs to be true. At this time, since there are no objections, I am going to admit States Exhibit 1 and States Exhibit 2. I am going to sentence you at this time to 20 months in the state jail facility. You are remanded back into the custody of the Nueces County Sheriff for transport to the state jail facility. I will give you credit for time served that you've been into jail. Mr. Munguia, how long have you been awaiting trial? Or how long?
10.5 months, Your Honor.
So I will give you that credit for that time served as well.
Thank
And
you.
I'm also giving you your right to appeal at this time. All right, Mr. Munguia, it's not required, but do you wish to say anything to the kids in the room?
Yes, ma'am. I have a little something that I would like to say. My name is can I start? Okay. My name is Ezequiel Munguia. I would like to start by saying peace be with you. My suggestions would be stay in school, get an education, surround yourself in a positive environment as much as you can. Positive actions produce positive results and rewards. Do not take any shortcuts or easy ways out. Have you ever noticed that when walking home from wherever you're at, taking the shortcut path you take, there are no sidewalks or suitable conditions, and the walk was rough. It's the same in life, only these shortcuts in life lead to dead ends like prison, hospitals, and even death. Fast money and illegal money is not the way. It's better to earn and have honor, dignity, and respect. With honest hard work comes rewards and security. Using drugs is not the answer. Most of us try to find a way out of our problems by running to drugs. We feel as if we run from our problems, but to be honest, the only thing that drugs do is make things worse. Most illegal drugs make you feel good, but just because it feels good doesn't make it right. Drugs destroy families and lead you to a world of pain. So how can you consider that fun? One of the hardest things that I've ever been through in my life is to sign my freedom away like I did today, behind some bad decisions. I don't wish this on even my worst enemy. It is very easy to make the wrong choice and end up in here, but at the same time, it is very easy to make good decisions and do the right thing. Life is hard enough as it is. You don't need to add more pain to it. Remember this. When you come to jail, your loved ones do the time with you. Don't put your families through that. Think and ask before making important decisions. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was definitely spoken from the heart. And I'd like to pick on one of the things that you said. I thought it was so well said. You're absolutely right. And the kids need to realize this. When you go to jail or you go to prison, your family does that time with you because you are not outside with them. You are not enjoying their company. You are not having meals with them. You are not being able to be with them. And so it's not only the inmate, not only Mr. Munguia who has to go, but anyone who has his family members are going to be also suffering because they will not be around him. So Mr. Munguia, thank you very much for opening up your heart and talking to these kids. You know, if you can make a difference in one of their lives, then you know what, blessings to you.
At least one, Your Honor.
I know. That's absolutely right. All right, Mr. Munguia, thank you very much. Officer Bayardo, I'm good to go on Mr. Munguia. I'll give you a right to appeal through your attorney. Did you want to say anything else, Mr. Munguia?
Yeah, you mentioned that I did get my back time.
Yeah, you got your back time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Vasquez, thank you very much. If you can stay around for a question and answers, that'd be great. If you have another court to go to, I understand.
I'll be here, Judge.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Judge Stith, I'm going to pass it on over to you.
All right, let's get back on Eric Martinez. Cecil, are we ready to go on Eric Martinez's case?
And Your Honor, I believe Mr. Starcher, he sent me a message that he was getting called from federal court. He had a setting at 10 o'clock in the morning. And so I think he has gone on to onto Zoom to handle his federal case. That's what I got in the message. He said he would be right back on as soon as he's done.
Let's see.
Abel should be ready to go, Judge.
I'm sorry, Abel should be ready to go?
Yes.
All right, what about with Dora Alaman?
That is Mr. Cavada's case.
All right, Abel Cavada, are you here? Well, batting 100 today.
He should be on, David.
Right.
Mr. Cavada?
Sandra, did we not just go through this?
Yes.
All right, well, we'll try to figure out what's going on. Missy, if you want to take the next case, and I'll figure out what's going on with my people.
Sure, no problem.
Abel,
Mute
he
yourself.
got bumped off, Judge, he says. It says.
Sandra, take yourself off mute and just text me.
All right, is Vushan White agreed? Okay, great. I'm gonna skip over then, and I'm gonna take Vushan White because Kendig is not agreed. Is that correct, William Patrick? The possession of firearm by a felon.
I believe it is an agreed and pleas of true, Your Honor.
I thought you all were a little time apart. All right, are you ready on Forrest Kendig then? I'm going to go forward on that. Forrest Kendig, all right. Let me put it back to the speaker view so I can see. All right, and Forrest is in, is he in the main jail or in the annex?
I thought he was at the main jail. I could be wrong.
Jail annex.
Up there.
Forrest
At the
Kendig
annex?
is here at the annex,
Okay, can I get Forrest Kendig out for me?
right here.
All right, Mr. Kendig, all right. Court calls cause number 19-FC0659H, State versus Forrest Kendig. Can I get attorney announcements for the record, please?
Eric Flores for the state.
William Patrick Delgado for the defense of Mr. Kendig.
Sorry, guys, I didn't know my video wasn't on. I was wondering why didn't pop up. Okay, Mr. Kendig, can you hear me and can you see me now? All right. Would you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, you may put your hand down. Would you state your name for me for the record?
Forrest Kendig.
All right, Mr. Kendig, are you the same individual who was charged by indictment with possession of a firearm by a felon, which is a third-degree felony, where you received You pled guilty to this offense back in July of 19. You pled guilty to it and received a term of probation for 5 years. And that was probated and you were given an opportunity with community supervision for 4 years. Is that correct?
I was, Your Honor.
All right. Are you a United States citizen?
Yes, ma'am.
You speak and understand the English language? You're being represented today by Mr. Delgado. Have you had enough opportunity to speak with him?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with his services?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm looking at the admonishments that the court has given to your attorney. There are certain places that I see your signature and certain places that I see your initials. Am I to understand that every time I see your signature and every time I see your initials, what you're telling me is, Judge, I've reviewed this. I understand what rights I have, and I also understand what rights I'm waiving.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Have you received a copy of the state's motion to revoke your probation?
Yes.
Have you had it for at least 10 days?
Yes, ma'am.
For those of you that are watching, what that means is that he pled guilty back, what I said, on June of 2019. I placed him on probation and a motion to revoke his probation was filed because he has done something to violate the community supervision. In other words, he has done something to violate the probation that I've asked him on. You've had this document for 2 days. I mean, at least 10 days. Is that correct? Do you want me to read it out loud or do you waive the reading of it?
I waive the reading.
All right. Mr. Vinton, if you can for me at this time, can you give me a Cliff Notes version? I've got it here, but can you give it to the kids of the motion to revoke and the allegations in the motion to revoke first?
That's my case, Judge, but I'm ready to proceed. The allegations in the motion to revoke, Judge, are that the defendant committed 2 new offenses on April 27, 2020. First one being misdemeanor possession of a controlled substance under 28 grams. The next one being driving with a suspended license on 4/27/20. In December of 2019, the defendant failed to submit to a urinalysis as directed. In January of 2020, the defendant failed to submit, tested positive for amphetamines. In January of 2020, the defendant admitted to using cocaine. And in March of 2020, the defendant failed to submit to a urinalysis, as well as June of 2020. That's a synopsis of the MTR, Judge.
Yeah, and then the rest of them are the technical fees. I see those and some curfews. Okay, Mr. Kendig, to the allegations, or first of all, your defense attorney, is he competent to proceed?
Very much so, Your Honor.
And able to assist you in his defense?
Indeed, he has, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Kendig, to the allegations, and I'm assuming the state is abandoning, I don't have, is it at 4A? Are you abandoning 1C?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. To the remaining allegations, Mr. Kendig, how do you plead? Are they true or not true? Mr. Kendig, can you hear me?
Can you not hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. To those allegations, how do you plead? Are they true or not true?
Yeah, that's true.
Can you plead? David, can you get the hallway? Can you, are you pleading true because they're in fact true?
Yes, ma'am.
Has anyone forced you or threatened you?
No.
You're doing that knowingly, intentionally, and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I will accept your pleas of true. I find all of the allegations in the motion to revoke your probation to be true. State, do you have any witnesses you wish to call?
No, Judge, we can proceed to disposition now.
Let's proceed.
And for disposition in cause number 19 FC 0659H, State of Texas versus Forrest Kendig, the state agrees to recommend the defendant's community supervision be revoked and he be sentenced to 4 years in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice.
Thank you. Mr. Delgado. Mr. Delgado, can you hear me?
I can hear now, Your Honor.
Do you have anything you wish to say?
Oh, that's our understanding of the agreement and just a respectful request of the court to follow the recommendation given by the state and defense.
All right. So to explain this to you, Mr. Kendig, and to the people that are watching, you understand this is a motion to revoke your probation. So I don't have to go along with the plea bargain agreement. I'm sorry, with the agreed recommendation, because it is not a plea bargain agreement, because you don't have plea bargain agreements in regards to this case. Do you understand that? Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and do you understand that this is a third-degree felony? So I can either go along with what your attorney and the state's attorney have agreed to, or I can do basically anything. I can put you back on probation, I can sanction you, or I can sentence you up to 10 years in prison right now. Do you get that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. At this time, I am going to go along with the agreement from your attorney at this time, though. We gave you an opportunity to shine. We gave you an opportunity to try to do better. And we've tried to help you all the way through this probation. I hope that you get some lessons. And I hope that you learn that this is not going to work for you. You're too young of a man to have this be basically the rest of your life. So at this time, I am going to adjudicate your guilt. I am going to revoke your probation, and I'm going to sentence you to 4 years in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. I will give you credit for time served at this time. Mr. Kendig, I was really hoping that we would not only make a difference in your life, but in the lives of the people that you surround yourself with as well. I'm going to give you a right to appeal through your attorney at this time as well. Mr. Kendig, do you wish to say anything to the kids in the room? No, ma'am. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, no, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Kendig, good luck to you. I hope this isn't working for you. Okay, so try to do something different when you get out. And the only man that can change this is the man that looks in the mirror every day, and that's you. Okay. All right, Mr. Delgado, anything further?
Nothing further from defense, Your Honor.
Okay, at this time, we're done with this then. Officer Collins, you can take Mr. Kendig back. Thank you very much.
Yes, Judge.
All right, David, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, let's see if I have any people. I saw Abel come out on here now, and I don't know if he's gone again, so I don't. Okay. So
Judge, I'm here on the line.
Okay. All right, Abel. So are you ready to go forward on Dora Alamon?
Yes, Your Honor, she's in custody.
All right. Can we have Dora Alamon, please?
Yes, sir, Judge.
Thank you. All right, Miss Alamon, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
You can put your hand down. Is your name Dora Alamon?
Yes, sir.
Are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
Do you speak and understand English?
Yes, sir.
I know you've told me you're a citizen, but if you're not a citizen, a conviction for this offense would be grounds for deportation and/or exclusion from the United States. Do you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever been treated at MHMR or another mental health care provider?
No, sir.
Are you clear-headed today? Do you understand everything that's going on here?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is your client competent?
Yes, she is, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Alamon, have you gone over with your attorney this document called the court's admonishments?
I think that's the one with the signatures on it.
Yes, it sure is.
Yes, I believe I did the first time. Yes, with my first MTR court.
Okay. All right. And again, we're going to go through the same things here today. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right for the state to have to prove all the allegations. But you also have the right to waive all of these rights and proceed forward on what we're doing here today. Is that what you want to do?
I don't like, what do you?
So by signing this document, you're indicating to me that you're willing to waive your rights and you're ready to have this proceeding heard today.
Oh, yes.
All right. Understand that there are no plea bargains in regards to motions to revoke. I'm going to hear what your attorney has to say. I'm going to hear what the state has to say. And then I'm going to make a decision on what I think is fair. Do you understand that?
Yes, yes, sir.
Now, you do have your right to appeal. So if you're not happy with what happens here today, you do have a right to appeal. You need to file a written notice within 30 days. And if you can't afford an attorney, one would be appointed to represent you, okay?
Okay.
All right, so originally you were put on probation on this charge for a state jail felony, possession of controlled substance. So your range of punishment today is anywhere from 6 months to 2 years in a state jail facility. That's a type of prison. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, the state has told me in this motion to revoke probation that you have violated your probation in a number of ways. State, which allegations are you proceeding on?
Your Honor, and all, we are going to be abandoning 1A, 1B, and 1C.
Okay.
We'll proceed on all the others.
All right, then to those remaining allegations, Ms. Alaman, how are you pleading to those? Are they true or are they not true?
Which ones are those? Are those?
So 1D is you committed an offense of criminal mischief. 1E, same. You tested positive for marijuana in 2A. Then you admitted using marijuana in 2A. You tested positive for benzos. 2C. Your analysis on 2D that you tested positive for alcohol. Then on 11, there's some amounts that they're saying that are due under probation's fees, attorney's fees, and court costs. Then also on 15, you admitted to being at a bar, and 21 that you didn't do your intake process. And then also it looks like, right. It looks like you were arrested for an offense on a violation of curfew in 22E. So are those true?
Yes, sir.
All right, and are you pleading true to those allegations freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
Has anyone threatened or forced you to get you to enter your pleas of true?
No, sir.
Let me hear from the state.
Your Honor, we have no further evidence in support of the allegations in the state's motion to revoke. At this time, we rely solely on the defendant's pleas of true to those allegations, and we ask the court to accept those pleas of true and find those allegations in fact to be true.
All right, then what is y'all's agreement as to, or is there an agreement as to the revocation?
We do have an agreement, Your Honor. The agreement is that Ms. Aleman is going to be probation be revoked. She'd be adjudicated guilty, and she'd be sentenced to 15 months in the state jail facility.
Ms. Alaman, is that your understanding of the plea bargain or the agreement that you have with the state? There aren't any plea bargains, but the agreement you have with the state?
I believe so. Yes, he with the I guess running concurrent with.
Yes,
Yes, yes, sir.
All right, then I will approve that agreement. It is, Ms. Alaman, I would have liked to see you succeed on probation, but sometimes you gotta call it like it is, and so that's what we're going to be doing today. So, based upon your pleas of true and the evidence submitted, I'll find the allegations true. I'm going to revoke your probation, find you guilty of the offense of possession of controlled substance, and I'm going to sentence you to 15 months confinement in a state jail facility. I will give you credit for any time you spend in jail prior to today's date, and I will allow this to run concurrent. I think you have some other charges from what I see out there. Now, you have the ability, if you would like, to talk to the kids. We do have a number of kids that are watching this proceeding today. You don't have to, but it's up to you. But you have an option to talk to them if you would like.
I don't really have anything ready, but I guess I can just say something.
You can.
I guess I could just say that just think twice about what you do. I guess everything doesn't always lead to always making mistakes, but if you have to think about it twice, just don't go ahead and do it. I learned my lesson. I regret everything I did, and just stay in school. And I guess just listen to all good advice that's given to you.
Well, you got to think about this, Miss Alaman. I mean, here you are, you're in cuffs and you're about to leave your friends and your family for 15 months.
Yes.
And that's significant and that's sad. And so, and I would bet, I don't know you, we haven't really talked that much before, but I would bet that a lot of the problems stems from drugs and being in the wrong place at the wrong time and with the wrong group of people. And so the reason why we're doing this with these kids is to hopefully they see that, it is serious and there are consequences of actions, and hanging around with the wrong people can get you involved in the wrong types of things, which could end up, 15 months is still a significant sentence being away from friends and family.
Right. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
I have one more question. Do I get my back time? Is that?
Yeah, what's gonna happen at this point is they're gonna calculate your back time. And so whatever time you spend in prison will count towards that sentence. I'm not gonna take that away from you.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna log off.
You're free to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
This time, we're going to proceed on Vushan White. That's Ms. Torres's case and Mr. Vinton. So let me proceed on that. Cause number 19 FC 4665H. I think Vushan is over at the main jail. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Can I get Vushan? Thank you. All right, court calls 19 FC 4665H, State versus Vushan White. Mr. Vinton, in regards to, are we proceeding just on 19 FC 4665?
That would be the plea that we were taking today, Your Honor, but we also have 2 MTRs we need to address as well.
All right, are those MTRs, are those the paperwork's done for those MTRs as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, then I'll do them all. All right, Ms. White, first of all, can I get attorney announcements starting with the state of Texas?
Shem Vinton for the state.
Deanne Torres on behalf of the defendant, Your Honor, Vushan White, who's present from the jail.
Ms. White, can you see me and can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, would you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
You may put your hand down. All right, Ms. White, we have 3 cases in front of me, so I'm going to go over them, each of them, okay? I'm going to start with the 2 that I had placed you on probation. In cause number 17 FC 4303, are you the same Vushan White who is charged by indictment with evading arrest and detention with a previous conviction? And in cause number 19 FC 2605H, where you were the same individual who is placed on probation for possession of a controlled substance. Are you that same individual?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And in the 17 case, you received a sentence of 5 years deferred. So you were placed on 5 years of probation, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
And in the 19 case, which is the possession of controlled substance, you were also, bless you, whoever that was, you are also given an opportunity and you were placed on probation for 3 years for your possession of controlled substance. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a United States citizen?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you speak and understand the English language?
Yes, ma'am.
Being represented today by Ms. Torres. Have you had enough opportunity to speak with her in regards to the defenses that you might have?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with her services?
Yes, ma'am.
You're also charged by indictment right now in 19 FC 4665H with 2 counts of aggravated robbery. Are you the same individual who is charged by indictment in that case as well?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I'm looking at the admonishments on all 3 of these cases, and there are certain places that I see your signature and certain places that I see your initials. Am I to understand that every time I see your signature and every time I see your initials, what you're saying is, Judge Maderi, I've reviewed this. I've gone over these with my attorneys. I understand what rights I have and I understand what rights I am waiving. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Ms. Torres, you've spoken Ms. White many times. She's competent to proceed. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. She is competent and she is ready to proceed.
She's been able to assist you in her defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. All right, Ms. White, let's go back to the MTRs at this time. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's go back to the MTRs at this time. Have you received a copy of the state's motions to revoke your probation?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you had them for at least 10 days?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want me to read them out loud to you or do you waive the reading of them?
I waive it.
All right, to the allegations and the motions to revoke your probation, Mr. Vinton, can you, do you want me to do, this is Mr. Vinton's case, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'm looking at for the MTR right now. You want to give me the Cliff Notes version of that MTR? She's pleading true to all of them, right, Ms. Torres?
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
Okay. Mr. Vinton, do you have that?
Hey,
Well,
Judge,
Ms. White,
Judge Missy, your microphone fades out if you're too far back.
Okay, sorry. Ms. White, you've read the motion to revoke your probation and you've had it for at least 10 days. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you want me to read it out loud? Or are you going to waive the reading of it?
I'm waving.
All right. Does anybody have that MTR? Shem, Deanne? It's not in our file right here.
Yes, Your Honor, I have it. The allegations are that she has picked up new offenses, including an evading arrest on foot, as well as a theft misdemeanor. She failed to report for 2 months and failed to pay some court costs, fees, and fines, Your Honor. And so for that reason, we're pleading true to all of those allegations, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you very much for assisting the court. Ms. White, in regards to the allegations in both MTRs, how do you plead? Are you are they true or not true?
True.
Are you pleading true to each and every allegation?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you pleading true because they're in fact true?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I will accept your pleas. I find the allegations to be true. Before we go into sentencing on the MTR, I am going to take the plea on the 2 ag robberies. Ms. White, in regards to cause number 19FC4665H, which is 2 counts of a first-degree felony, aggravated robbery, to the charge in the indictment, count 1 and count 2, how do you plead? Are you guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Are you pleading guilty because you're in fact guilty?
Yes, ma'am.
No one has forced you or threatened you?
No, ma'am.
You're doing that knowingly, intentionally, and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll accept your plea. Are you abandoning the enhancement paragraph?
Yes, Your Honor, as a condition of the agreement or the plea agreement, we are abandoning the enhancement.
All right, I just need that on the record. All right. I've gotten the plea now. If you will, Mr. Vinton, can you offer your evidence and give me what you're thinking about on the aggravated robbery and give me the facts of the case, please?
Yes, Your Honor. With respect to the facts of the case, on June 1st, 2018, officers were dispatched to a motel in reference to a robbery with a weapon. Upon arrival, they met with the two front desk clerks that were working at the motel at the time, who are the victims of this offense, who told them that a Black female came in wearing a light blue hoodie to rob them. They alleged that she came in through the front door holding a piece of wood in her hand and demanded money from the desk. When the victims informed the suspect female that they did not hold money at the location, she became upset and began banging that piece of wood on the counter. To defend himself and his other coworker, one of the victims picked up a chair to try to push her back and gain some distance between them and the suspect female. This didn't work, and the suspect female, later identified as the defendant, jumped on the counter and removed a large knife from her waistband. One of the victims again tried to push her back with the chair, but as he did so, the defendant slashed him on the arm, or slashed him with a knife on the arm. At this time, he stopped resisting and allowed her to take money from the cash box that was behind the counter. She's alleged to have taken $200 in cash and left, dropping the knife in the parking lot as she did so. An investigation into the robbery did begin. Police received a tip on Crime Stoppers that the suspect female was in fact Lushawn White. A photo identification lineup was prepared, and one of the victims did in fact identify Lushawn White as having committed the robbery. And that's what led to the present charges. She was charged by indictment and a warrant was issued for her arrest. She's charged with 2 counts because of the 2 victims. And to that end, in exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty to this offense, and 19 FC 4665H to the 2 charges in the indictment, counts 1 and count 2, the state recommends that she be confined in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Corrections for a period of 7 years. We recommend that this sentence run concurrently with those of her MTRs, which we'll take in a minute, 17 FC 4303H and 19 FC 2605H. In exchange for her plea of guilty, we do, like mentioned earlier, we are abandoning the enhancement in paragraph in the indictment, and we agree to dismiss 2 unadjudicated charges, 20 MC 1992 and 20 MC 4453, which are both misdemeanors. State has offered states 1 and 2 via e-file.
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, no objections. No objections to states to give it 1 or 2, so I'm going to admit those into evidence. Wow. I guess I need to hear from the state because this is an aggravated robbery charge. The range of punishment on this case is 5 to 99. And so I know that the district attorney's office is in contact with all of their victims. Mr. Vinton, can you explain to me that 7 years is a little low for an aggravated robbery? Can you tell me a little bit more?
Yes, Your Honor. The range of punishment, as you mentioned, is 5 to 99 years in TDC. When we have crimes that have victims in them or victim-related crimes, we do reach out to the victims, try to talk to them about the case, and get their ideas or their opinions and their feelings on how the case should be disposed or what punishment should be offered to the defendant. In this particular case, I wanted a period of time that was longer than what I'm offering. In fact, I tendered that initial offer to defense counsel at a much longer period of time than is being currently offered as part of this plea agreement. But I spoke to the victim, especially the one that was actually slashed in the arm by the defendant during the commission of the offense. And he wanted something that was actually even below the minimum in this offense. And I could not, in my duties for the city of Texas, offer that. But I felt that if he could show that much grace to an individual who injured him as part of an offense, and he's the one who sustained that injury as well as the trauma of the crime itself. If he could show that grace to her, then I could probably meet him a little more halfway. So I tempered my offer, met him a little closer to halfway to what he wanted, and still, achieving the goals of, community safety as well as justice for the victims and what the state would consider justice in this case.
All right, thank you very much. There's no objections to State's Exhibit 1 or 2, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, I am going to go along with this plea bargain agreement, and on the MTRs, I will accept the agreement as well. If there's nothing further, I'm going to sentence Ms. White at this time. Do you have anything else, Ms. Miller?
No, Your Honor.
Anything further, Mr. Vinton?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. White, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, based on your plea of guilty and the evidence submitted, including the judicial confession and stipulation, I find the evidence substantiates a finding of guilt. I am going to find you guilty in cause number 19FC4665H of the 2 counts of aggravated robbery. I'm going to go along with the plea bargain agreement in regards to that, and I'm going to sentence you to 7 years in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. I'm going to, this is a 3G offense too, right? Yes. So I'm going to find you guilty of that. I'm going to run that case concurrently with the other 2 cases. In regards to the motion to revoke your probation in cause number 17FC4503H, I'm going to adjudicate your guilt. I am going to revoke your probation, and I'm going to sentence you to 6 months in the state jail facility. That will run concurrent with your ag robbery charge. And in cause number 19FC2605H, where you are on 3 years deferred, I'm going to adjudicate that. I'm going to revoke that probation. I'm going to sentence you to 6 months in the state jail facility. I also will run that concurrently with the other evading case and the new ag robbery case. I'm giving you a right to appeal through your attorney, Ms. Torres. You will have it through Andrew. Anything further from either side after I've given the right to appeal? Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. If you can you make it please make a finding of deadly weapon on the ag robbery?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was asking on the 3G. At this time, I am going to make an affirmative finding of a deadly weapon on cause number 19FC4665H. With that, I don't believe there's anything else. Ms. White?
Sorry, Judge. The only thing that we would ask, of course, is that she be given credit for the time she's been in jail. She has been in jail, to my knowledge, at least since March. So she definitely is going to have some credit towards her sentences.
Okay, I'll give her all the back time that she's entitled to, so I will give her credit for time served. Ms. White, you have been before me a couple different times Usually it's when we're in person, but now that we've got a pandemic, we really don't have a choice on this. Is there anything, I wish you luck. I hope that you change your ways. And I really do hope you change your ways. Do you want to say anything? It's not necessary, but if you want to say something to the kids, that would be great.
All lives matter. Your actions affect your future. Stay in school and don't use drugs. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. White. Anything further from either side?
No, Your Honor.
All right, guys, I'm good then. Court call, you are good with Ms. White. Ms. White, good luck to you. I will give you your back time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Judge Stith, I'm turning it over to you.
All right, let's get back on. I think Cecil Starcher is back. Cecil, are you here so we can do Eric Martinez at the annex?
Yes, Judge, I'm back.
Okay. Did you have time to talk with him? I know that happens from time to time. Were you able to go over anything you needed to go over with him?
Yes, Your Honor, we had a little discussion. We're good to go.
No problem. Mr. Martinez, I can't see the annex, but do we have Mr. Martinez there?
Sure.
All right, sounds good. Mr. Martinez, will you speak real quick so I can see you on the speaker view?
So,
For some reason, no, it's not speaking. It's not changing.
can you see us?
Yeah, I got you. There we go. All right, we're good. Okay. All right, so let's see where we are. Mr. Martinez, I think we were at the point where I was asking you about the document in regards to the waiver of your rights. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right. Have you had enough time to talk with your attorney now about that issue?
Yes, sir.
All right. And did you understand that by signing this document, you're waiving or giving up certain rights in your case?
Yes, sir.
All right. We went over the range of punishment. Now we've gone over your rights. Understand that if there's a plea bargain and I accept that plea bargain, you won't have any right to appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me hear from the state and give me a brief synopsis of what we're hearing today.
Yes, Your Honor. As the court knows, Mr. Martinez is being charged with a 3-count indictment for possession of controlled substance, tampering with evidence, and assault on public servant. All 3 charges arose at the same time, same incident. Back on September 24, 2015, Mr. Martinez was the driver of a vehicle who was traveling down US 77 in Robstown. He was pulled over by a trooper for a defective stop lamp. Upon the trooper making contact with him, the trooper immediately detected that Mr. Martinez appeared to be nervous. Mr. Martinez did have a passenger in his vehicle, so the troopers did separate both Mr. Martinez and his passenger. Upon speaking to Mr. Martinez, he asked him, where he was coming from. He said, Mr. Martinez stated he was coming from his house and going over to a cousin's house to get a check. Upon speaking to the passenger stated that they were coming from the passenger's house and they were going to the store. So obviously the trooper had some conflicting stories there and a kind of gruesome suspicion. He did confront Mr. Martinez about the conflicting story from the passenger. Mr. Martinez then got a little nervous. At that time, the officer did ask for consent to search the vehicle, and he also searched Mr. Martinez at the time. Upon searching Mr. Martinez, the officer did locate a bag of heroin that fell through the bottom of his pants as he was searching him. He was also able to find 2 pills of methadone on Mr. Martinez's waistband. Upon picking up those items, the trooper did put them on his unit's hood. He then attempted to place Mr. Martinez under arrest for possession of controlled substance for the heroin and the methadone that he found. At that time, Mr. Martinez started to resist, and he was pulling away from the trooper. And at one point, he grabbed the heroin and the methadone off the hood and put them in his mouth. Due to that fact, the trooper put his arm around Mr. Martinez's head to try to take control of him in order to get those drugs out of his mouth. And while he had his forearm around Mr. Martinez's head or neck, Mr. Martinez did bite him on his left forearm. Because of that, Mr. Martinez was tased, and after being tased, he was able to be handcuffed, and he was placed under arrest. Upon searching his vehicle, the officers did find 2 syringes and an aluminum cap, which, based on his experience, are items, paraphernalia used to use heroin. They also did find 2 syringe needles in a cigarrillos package that was found in the vehicle. Due to the fact that Mr. Martinez did ingest the 2 methadone pills, he was taken to the Christmas Pond shoreline, and he was ultimately cleared and taken to the jail.
And are you offering States Exhibit 1 and 2 at this time?
I am, Your Honor.
All right. Any objections to that, Mr. Starcher?
No objection, Your Honor.
I thought it'd be admitted. In regards to the officer, was his skin broken? Was there?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So there wasn't any. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Then 1 and 2 have been admitted. Mr. Martinez, How do you plead to this offense that you've just heard, or to the 3 offenses that you have just heard? Are you pleading guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
And are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Has anyone threatened or forced you to get you to any of your pleas of guilt?
No.
Mr. Martinez, what? Explain to me what was going on. I don't understand why you would allow that situation, even the arrest, to escalate to where you ended up getting tased.
Oh, I wasn't in my right mind, sir. At the time, I was on drugs. I'd probably been up for days using drugs, and I was an addict. I mean, they found that I was going to jail. I thought I was going to get dope sick, so I don't know, it was a dumb mistake. I felt bad after I did it because the gentleman, the officer, was real nice to take me to the hospital and get me checked out. And I mean, it's something I regret.
I mean, you seem nice and you seem normal and you don't seem violent to me here. So how long have you been using drugs and what were you using at that time?
I was using heroin. I was trying to get into the methadone clinic, but they weren't accepting nobody at the time. So I was buying methadone from the street. So I was trying to get myself right. And that day that friend asked me for a ride, I was taking him to give him a ride, and we got pulled over. A coincidence, the incident happened,
So, Mr. Martinez, I want to tell you one thing, and I know there are other people watching. I'm not telling you this story for any other reason other than for you personally. I also sit as the divert court judge, and so I don't know if you've heard that, but I have a lot of people that come in on addiction. That's something I deal with weekly in my court, weekly with people. And there was a guy that I knew that went through that program just about, 2 months ago, and he graduated, and it was heroin. And I thought he was doing okay. He met another person in the program who was a recovering addict. And I just heard last week that he died by overdose.
Wow.
And so I'm telling you that's 2 people now personally that I have known in my court that have gone through the program or gone through probation that have died due to an overdose. And it's real and it's serious. And heroin is a drug that I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, you know this, but it's going to be, that addiction is going to be with you forever. You've got to, I guess, start by making determination that you're done with that lifestyle.
I pretty much have been clean this time I came in. If you think about it, sir, I know besides those charges, I haven't picked up no other charges. I've been on the clear for a while. I know I haven't turned myself in, but I'm not a bad individual. I just made bad choices.
No, I'm not here to tell you you're a bad individual. I do not do that as my job.
I'm just thinking on my behalf.
Right. And I just wanted to make a point on that. And I agree. There's a lot of people that come in front of me that aren't bad people. They make bad choices. And so, my goal as a judge is to help give you the tools to get back in society. That's what I want. I don't think any judge really likes putting people in prison, quite honestly. What we really like is for people like yourself to get out, get on with life, and come back later in a couple of years and say, look, and it's happened. Look, you gave me a chance 2 years ago, and now I own my own business, or now I've done this, or now I've done that, and I have a family. So I hope you're one of those people. I really do. How long have you been clean?
I've been clean for 6 months. The 3 I've been here and the 3 I've been out, I was barely getting on myself. So
sure,
I want to be a seductive citizen. Prosper in life. I don't like having, I'm trying to tell you my business, but I don't like having track marks all over my arms and people ain't gonna hire you. You're not dependent worker. And I like the way I feel right now.
So 6 months is a good starting point, but remember, you're gonna have those cravings and you're gonna have that addiction and those thoughts that are going to last for at least a year, if not longer, from the people that I've talked to. And you've got to, I'll tell you, the people that I've seen that have done really well are the people that get into the support groups, that go to group meetings, that are in the lifestyle of addiction recovery. That's something you've got to replace that thing inside you that you filled with drugs, with heroin, with something else. Do you know what I'm saying? Like getting the drug and hang out with people that do it, and that whole lifestyle that goes along with it. You've got to get rid of that and replace it.
Like they said, you got to change people, places, and things.
Right.
The people you hang around, the places you go, and the things you do. So that's what I was trying to do. And then I know I had to take care of the situation because it's been taken care of, but that's why we're here.
So I'm going to tell you, Mr. Martinez, I wasn't sure I was going to take your plea because of the biting of the officer before I talked to you, but you've talked to me, you've been honest, and you've been real, and that means something to me. And so So I'll tell you what, I will accept the plea. I take a very strong view on people that fight against officers. They're out there, the ones protecting us, and you know, the last thing they need is to get bit and, you know, have to. So state, what is the agreement?
Your Honor, the agreement is the court defer finding of guilt, place Mr. Martinez on 5 years community supervision, that he be placed on, he go through a TAP evaluation, felony drug convictions, and any other probation conditions the court deems are appropriate, given the charges and considering Mr. Martinez's situation and circumstances. As he stated, he has had some issues with substance abuse in the past.
And Mel, can we look at the other file? The plea agreement might have gotten caught up with another file because I don't see it here. All right, so Mr. Martinez, I am gonna follow that plea bargain agreement. I will find the evidence substantiates your guilt, but I won't find you guilty at this time. Instead, I'm gonna defer that for a period of 5 years, subject to a number of different conditions. 120 hours community service, curfew 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., standard drug conditions. Mr. Martinez, this is something we do need to talk about though, because the plea agreement doesn't call for me to put you right into inpatient treatment. What is your plan on staying clean? Like what is your idea on how you're going to do that?
I could just keep busy, my work, go to classes or something. I could volunteer for classes. Any classes?
So this is what I'm going to do. I want you to go through the TAP evaluation. I want, if you qualify, I don't know that you're going to qualify because of the assault on a public servant. He's not going to qualify for SATF, is he? Probation.
I'm looking to verify that. With an assaultive, I don't believe so, but I can double check on that, Judge.
Double check, because sometimes they make exceptions. And so what I want, I'm not going to order him to SATF right now. I want to see how he does, if he can do it on his own. But I want to order it. I want to order it and then probate it. So can you have him evaluated for SATF?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, Mr. Martinez, is I'm going to put you in my SCP caseload. That is a caseload where you report to me a lot more than normal, and there's a whole lot more conditions that are associated with it. And I think you'd be a good fit. Now, what I'm going to do though is I'm going to order inpatient SATF, but I'm going to probate that as long as there are no positives and you're reporting when you're supposed to report and you are following all the other conditions of probation. If you violate any of those conditions of probation, you're going to go right into SATF if you qualify.
Okay. Yes, sir.
All right, so let's make sure that's part of the plea. And then Sandra, make a note on SCP. I want to see how he's doing when he's out. I also want to schedule a review. Cecil, I don't know that you need to be here for this, but as soon as he's out, I want to see him within 10 days for a report on his job, where he's living, what he's doing. Mr. Martinez, do you have a place to live when you get out?
Yes, sir.
All right. So when you get out, get onto your probation, and then let's get you a date right now. I want you to come back on Zoom and talk to me, because I want to make sure that transition time between being in and being out can get a little sketchy. And so, especially for people using heroin. So Sandra, can I get a date for, let's do it 1 week from today. Did I lose Sandra?
It says that September the 8th at 1:30, Judge.
All right, Mr. Martinez, September the 8th at 1:30 on Zoom, okay?
Okay.
All right, anything else from the state or the defense?
Last thing I'd like to put on the record, Your Honor, is that a part of the plea agreement, the state agreed to dismiss a misdemeanor failure to ID in cause number 17 MC 08381.
All right, I will go ahead and agree to that as well.
That's all we have, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Y'all can be excused. Thank you, Cecil. All right, Judge Missy, back to you.
All righty, I am back. That actually concludes the rest of my cases, Judge Stith.
Same.
And I believe that it concludes yours as well. And so what I'd like to do, sorry, I'm trying to sign orders at the same time. Whenever they get you here, they throw in a ton of paperwork. So I've been signing orders this whole time. All right, so we are concluding our program at this time. And I guess what we'll do is we'll open it up for any type of questions. Dr. Rodriguez, I don't know if there were any questions in the chat. I really wasn't monitoring the chat, but I don't know. And if you do have a question, I guess you can do the raise hand feature. And
How
that's about it.
the raise hand feature? That'll be kind of cool.
Okay, so at this time, we are going to proceed with any kind of questions. If you want to raise your hand, or I don't know if I can see raise hand unless I go to their screen though, and I've got 5 screens worth of kids.
I'm going to try to keep going through it and see what I see. And that's questions for anybody, the judges, the sheriff, DAs, defense attorneys.
Yeah, and I want to say, I want to say thank you also to CCISD. I want to say thank you to the prosecutors. I want to say thank you to the defense attorneys as well. And also a special thanks to the defendants that participated. I mean, it takes a lot to be able to make mistakes and to admit those mistakes. So we hope that you enjoyed this Courts and Schools. We are going to continue to take this around. I think I don't know where our next high school is. I think it's Veterans, but I'm not sure. We've already done King. We've done a couple of different schools.
Yes, it is Veterans.
And Veterans, yep. So I'm hoping that you all enjoyed this, and I'm hoping that you learned something from today. I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Rodriguez in case there are any questions like that. Thank you.
No, I'm just going to encourage the students, as you were evaluating and observing all the cases today, I think you got a great array of the different kinds of cases. And there were some details that were very similar, but there were also some details that were different. And so for the students, I'm going to open the floor, or you can put the question in the chat. If there's anything you want to know about their role, their job role, how they go about their work, or just, you know, some questions about the process itself. I'll start with one question. Do the judges genuinely believe that jail will help reform someone with an addiction?
So I'd like to jump in on that one first, Missy, because as you heard me mention on one of my last people that was in front of me, I handled the divert court. And what that means is people, first-time offenders that are in trouble for drugs, they can come into this program. We meet weekly. They have counseling sessions weekly. We do random UAs, random visits to the house. And that program is roughly 9 months to a year long. And so I get to know these people very well. So in answer to your question, does jail truly help somebody with addiction? I would say as a general rule, no. It can be a wake-up call, depending upon how it is used. It can be a wake-up call to some people, but as a general rule, no. I strongly believe that addiction needs to be handled in a more of a therapeutic type situation, which divert court is. I wish we had better programs situated to that. Having said that, I had a person that came into my court and said I had sentenced them to jail 6 months. I should have sentenced them to longer, but I said I'd given them a chance for drugs. She came back out and she's doing great with her life. So I can tell you, I don't want to send people to jail for drugs. Once you go to jail, once you go to prison, you have that felony conviction on your record, and it really limits what you can do with your life. So if I can do anything else in regards to people that are accused of drugs, anything else other than sending them to prison, I will. Prison is really a last resort.
Yeah, and I'll jump in on that as well. And I agree with that. Most of the time we try to, unless it's a really, a first degree, bad felony or second degree, especially on drugs, we try to, and mental health. We try to help on mental health and we try to help on drugs. Unfortunately, that there comes a time sometimes, like, I'll put somebody on probation. I'll try to get them help for their drugs. And people slip, and then we'll try to give them another program, and we'll try to review with them all of the different options. There comes a time, though, sometimes where you don't have an option like that with the judge because you're on your 4th or your 5th motion to revoke probation. And there's really not, we've gone through every single program and it just, it's not working. And sometimes you just don't really have a choice. I'm definitely of the school where I don't, if I can give somebody help with addiction or help with mental health, it's my #1 priority as well. And I think pretty much all the judges feel that way.
But we're getting lots
Next
of
question.
Yeah, lots of questions, so I'll have to go quicker.
So if you can talk a little bit about the defense attorney, this is for you. they would be interested in knowing what's the educational process to become a defense attorney.
To be a defense lawyer, you have to first complete your bachelor's degree. So it's a 4-year program. And then law school's 3 years. Once you're a licensed attorney, it's kind of, you can area of law. You can both prosecute and defend, do civil and criminal. You're essentially licensed to do anything other than intellectual property law. So it's pretty broad after that 7 years of college.
And along the same lines, I believe for sheriff, what would you recommend to follow a career in law enforcement? You know, what is generally a good, I'm going to say, path to get into a career for law enforcement in your role?
Well, in law enforcement in Texas, you have to be 21 years old before an agency like the Corpus Christi Police Department or the Texas Department of Public Safety or any of the federal agencies will hire you. So there's that 3 years when you graduate from high school that you need to be doing something productive and not getting into trouble, because it's really sad when about 60 to 65% of all the applicants we get in law enforcement, we can't hire them because they messed up. They did something that disqualifies them in those 3 years before they turn 21. The military is an excellent option. College, trade school, anything that keeps you focused on living your life the way you should. Where we can hire you, anything in those 3 years. And it's as far as I was back in the day, they called it police science. And my college at Del Mar was police science and then criminal justice. But that's not totally necessary, because when a larger agency hires you, they're going to put you through an academy. They're going to give you all the specific training that they want you to have. So, and it's like even the federal agencies, a significant number of people who hire on with the FBI have their degree in accounting, in business. So it's all a matter of staying focused and staying disciplined. And I hope that answers your question.
A question for the judges. On average, how many cases do you review within a given scope of time? I know we did quite a few today. Is it on a weekly basis, monthly basis? What does that look like in your courts?
I'll take it, David. We work every single day. This is our dockets. These are what we do every single day. We split the dockets today, but we've had 15-page dockets. We try to slow it down a little bit today and only pick about 8 different cases, but we're in court every single day doing exactly this. So when I say 15 cases, I mean, I've had 45 set for trial. And I think all the judges do the exact same thing.
Can I jump real quick on that? Just there was one that looks like it was addressed to me. Do you ever deal with any civil cases such as family law? How is it different than criminal? Yes, we do. We are courts of general jurisdiction. We handle criminal cases all the way to felonies, capital murders, and all of those types of really hardcore offenses, as well as family law cases. Every day, Judge Missy and I divide up. Really, it's hard to say it any other way. We end up a lot dividing up families and divorces and property and figuring out where a child is going to live and visitation, and those are extremely difficult, as well as all sorts of civil cases. We may have a family law case and a criminal law case, and then a civil case where there was an oil or gas explosion, and we're dealing with that. So yeah, we handle all those cases, and generally our days are varied between those different types of cases.
We have some more good questions. What is the role of the judge's manager?
Sandra.
Manager? Yeah, the court manager is great. Andy, you can jump on that, or Sandra, either one. They basically are our right-hand man or a woman. They help us with everything. They do our dockets. Sandra, you want to get on, or Andrew?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so we're pretty much behind the scenes. We coordinators generate what you saw today. We coordinated with the attorneys, making sure everybody was ready to go. Paperwork is ready to go for the judges. So again, we're more behind the scenes, but we're calendaring the civil, criminal, and family dockets accordingly to the law. Is how we do our daily work. We're here every day for y'all.
To Mark Gonzalez, if he's on, what are the different types of career positions under the district attorney's office for the county?
So the district attorney's office has so many people that actually make it work. As you see here, we have assistant district attorneys who actually are licensed attorneys. Some of them have worked both in prosecutor, assistant district attorneys' offices. Some even have worked in private practice as defense attorneys. Prior to becoming the elected district attorney, I was a defense attorney. I never worked in the DA's office, but we have other positions. We have certified peace officers who work as our investigators. So we have 5 officers who actually go and investigate, sometimes serve subpoenas. We have 1 agent who's attached to a task force. His purpose is taking drug money going south off the streets and drugs going north off the streets. We have administrative assistants who do all the paperwork, all those files and all those papers that everyone sees. Those are the really important players in our office. They generate all the paperwork, make sure that every attorney has their files whenever they're set to go to court. So there are so many moving parts to our office, and without every single one of those individuals, it just doesn't work. So everyone is just as important as the other. The attorneys aren't more important than our administrative assistants and anybody else.
So everybody pleaded guilty today, but what happens when the plea is not guilty, even when the evidence supports that the defendant is in fact guilty?
Go to trial. If these are obviously only the ones that have pled guilty today, so many more plead not guilty, and then we end up setting it for a jury trial. Now, because of COVID right now, we've been limited by the Supreme Court to not have any jury trials until October 1st. They're going to actually issue another order the beginning of next week also. So that's what we do. We go to trial. We either go for what's called a bench trial, which is in front of me, where I make the decision if they're guilty or not guilty based on the evidence, or you go to a jury trial and the state has to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt.
And if I could add real quick, even if you have video of somebody committing a crime, even if we have 100 witnesses from somebody committing a crime, everyone has a right to go to a jury trial, and that is their right. And so even if people say, well, you're guilty, why do you have that right? Well, it's because that's the rules that we have. And sometimes we may argue on punishment. And so that's why a lot of cases do go to trial.
You have a constitutional right by trial for a trial by jury. What's the next question?
So there was a question in regards to internship opportunities in the criminal justice, especially in the police department, law enforcement. Is there an age stipulation of some kind or a certain internship requirement, or is it even allowed?
Sheriff's Department?
Yeah, we don't, here at the Nueces County Sheriff's Office, we don't have any internship positions, but we do hire correctional officers at the age of 18. So if any of the students watching today are not intending to immediately go into college, but they want to have their start in law enforcement, the jail is an excellent place to do that. It's a challenging environment. It's a very controlled environment, and we give our correctional officers all of the training and all of the tools and supervision that they need to function in that environment safely. And that's why we can hire 18-year-olds. Many of us, including myself and including CCISD Police Chief Kirby Warnke, started out as correctional officers in the Nueces County Jail. And so the sky is the limit. You can go anywhere you want with any agency you want. And so, okay, in direct answer to the question about internships, I came from the Corpus Christi Police Department, and I know for a fact that there are internship positions with the city and with the city police department for college students who want to explore law enforcement in that arena. And so that would be the place to look.
So
Sheriff, let me add one little tidbit to that. You may also look at an Explorer program with CCSD Police Department or with CCPD. The Explorer program is basically a uniformed internship where you'll do ride-alongs, you do all sorts of things that are police related. So Explorers are a good option to gain experience as well.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Kirby. Yeah, I forgot you were here, Chief. I would have introduced you in the very beginning. He's the Chief of Police for CCISD. My apologies, Chief. I did see one question on there and I can't find it now, but it had something to do with if the person says that they were forced or threatened to plead guilty, what do you do? That's a very easy question. We stop the plea. If somebody does not enter their guilty plea freely and voluntarily, then it's not a guilty plea that's made freely and voluntarily. We stop the plea immediately and we don't go forward with the plea of guilty, and we set it then for trial.
So to jump in on the next question, do you deal with any cases that result in the death penalty? I think both Judge Missy and I have had death penalty cases in our courts. Mine, I think, was the last one that the state, Mark, you can jump in on that one, the state proceeded on. The state did ask for the death penalty. The jury came back and decided life in prison was the appropriate punishment. And but yeah, we both, Judge Missy and I, do handle those types of cases. Real quick to follow up on that. What about the schooling we received? I went to University of North Texas with my undergrad in psychology. Then that was a 4-year degree. Then I went to law school. That was 3 years at Texas Tech. Then I got out and I started my practice. Right after that, I just kind of went out on my own and with my shingle and started taking court-appointed cases. So I've been involved in criminal law for well over 20 years now.
Questions?
Another question was, because you see a lot of cases in which it is that involves drugs, how do you offer support to people who don't want to admit that they have a problem, even in your with you?
I missed that question, David. It went out on my end. Did you get it?
Yes, it was. I'm sorry. Can you repeat it one more time? I was answering a question on the forum.
So how can you help somebody that's on drugs or has a drug problem but doesn't admit that it's a problem?
That's the first. Like, if you have a person that comes in, I bet Judge Missy will say the same thing. If you have a person that comes in front of us and says, and I ask them, "Do you have a drug problem?" They say no. That is the first thing you got to deal with, because if a person is not willing to say, "Yes, I have a drug problem and I want to get help," there's really nowhere to go with that. And so that's extremely difficult. And if you and so that kind of follows in with another question somebody put in there. Part of what we do as judges is trying to get a person to have that moment where they say, what am I doing with my life? What do I need to change? Why am I here? And sometimes you can get people to see that, understand it, and realize they need help. Other people, they're not at that point. They're not at that stage. And there's really not a lot you can do. If a person is not realizing they need help, you can't force somebody to help themselves. It's just not possible. At least from my perspective.
Can you speak to the age in which it is that you seem to acknowledge patterns, or, for the benefit of the students? And, I think some people that think they're young and may not be immune to this kind of court situation, and where age doesn't always have to be a factor.
Missy, you want to jump on that one?
My audio is really messing up because I can't hear. Is anybody else having the same problem or no?
Nope.
Can you ask that question again, Dr. Rodriguez?
I was just asking about the age in which the cases that you are having to try. Do you notice age groups from young to old to middle age patterns?
Okay, I got it. Yeah, we see everybody. I mean, anybody who, once they're legally an adult, I've had a 17-year-old and I've had a 79-year-old that has been in here, and it just really depends. I mean, a lot of people make the dumbest mistakes when they're young, and a lot of people, I know that some progressive prosecutors believe that you kind of age out of crime. You do some stupid stuff at 17 or 18, and you don't want it to follow you around the rest of your life. And then you become, you get a family and you become more of a producing member of society. That's usually what we see, unless drugs or mental health are involved. If drugs are involved, then it's all across the board. You can have 17-year-old hooked on drugs, you can have an 80-year-old hooked on drugs, and mental health as well. So we see everything, every age.
I love these questions. They're great.
We have a student that would like to ask her question verbally. Ashley, you want to ask your question? If you want to unmute your mic.
Okay, so this is for Mr. Vinton because I like the way he presented himself and like expressed what he was talking about. So I wanted to ask him if he went through the same education of like 7 years with 4 years of bachelor's and 3 years of law school. I just wanted to ask him that.
Shem, are you around, Shem Vinton? Oh man, he's getting a compliment and he's not even
He's
here.
getting a compliment, he's gone.
He just stepped out of the room. I'm sorry.
That's hilarious.
I will answer for him. I know that Shem and all the attorneys went through probably the same education, but Shem is also a veteran of the United States Army. He served his country for quite some time. I know that was either during the course or after the course, before he attended law school. And so Shem has seen some things that probably most of us attorneys haven't. So that's one thing that I do know about Shem.
Some more students would like to ask their question verbally. I'm going to ask Lorena. You want to ask your question?
Yes, just because I'm not really good with typing and wording my thoughts out. If you have like someone like a relative or a friend and anyone that has like a drug addiction and they haven't gotten in trouble with the law and you know, they admit to having that addiction and they wanted like help, and how would you go about that? Like, would they get in trouble like with the law, or if like how would that work exactly?
So Missy, do you have an easy answer on that one?
Well, I mean, no, they're not involved in the criminal justice system, so we can make anybody go through a program if they come through us. If they are out in the free world or not part of the system, then unfortunately, good and bad, we have no power over it. And the only thing they can do is seek private help, you know, Charlie's Place, any type of the outpatient treatment facilities that are available. But if they're not under our jurisdiction, then we don't. There's no program that we have. They just have to get help on their own. But there's a lot of agencies outside that help people like that.
Mm-hmm. And like how much would you say like roughly like the cost or expense? Like, you know how like because I know that they're probably not free, sadly, for them, but like someone who's like kind of in like a low income family because they're more exposed to it, how would you recommend that they get help because they don't have a lot of money to afford like certain programs like that?
A lot of those programs are offered on what's called a sliding scale. So if all of a sudden, you know, because addiction definitely gets everybody. I mean, you can be, you know, black, white, Hispanic, you can be rich or poor, you can be in between, but definitely in the ability to get help, if you don't have the money, then that's difficult. But most of those places, Charlie's Place, all of those places usually work on a sliding scale so that, you know, Joe Smith, who has the funds, has to pay for it in full. And Sue Smith, who doesn't have the funds, would get it on a sliding scale and a reduced rate.
Okay, thank you.
If I may add, please,
Sure, George.
there's a lot of programs. Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous are very popular. You can do a Google search, you can find them. There's a lot of resources out there that don't cost anything at all. If anybody wants help, I encourage you to look online, seek that help, get it before you're in the criminal justice system.
Judge, can I add to that also?
Yeah, go ahead, Gabriel.
Yeah, Judge, as you remember, I was in your court yesterday on an MTR, and we were talking about this program called Project Humanities that's offered out of the STARS. And my client was able to, he's on out, he doesn't have to pay for it. It's been, I guess, a state funded program. So there are programs out there, like George was saying, that if you search for them, there are some options out there for some people.
Shamika,
Gabriel.
you had a question?
Yes, I wanted to ask because I noticed that you would ask the defendant if they are competent or not. And I was just wondering if, like, what happens when you get someone that has a disability, like a mental disability?
Judge, can I start with that?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I do a lot of court appointments and also do retained cases. And there's some times where we visit with our clients to discuss the facts of the case. And the threshold, unfortunately, is really low. And if they're not able to assist us with helping to defend them, then we file a motion to suggest incompetency. We present that to the judge. The judge at that time can order an evaluation to see if they're competent to go stand trial. They're evaluated by a licensed psychologist, and he makes a determination whether they're competent to stand trial or not. If they're not competent to stand trial, which I've had in the past, then we can do a couple of options, but normally we try to get them to a place where they can get what we call rehabilitated to the point where they understand what's going on. And once they're restored to the competent level, then we can proceed with their case. So that's, I hope that answers your question.
And for the purpose of our audience, you mentioned 17 earlier, Judge. Just to clarify in front of the students, the legal age to be tried is 17 or 18, because there's a little confusion amongst students.
Mark, you want to jump in?
I don't know if is Mark there?
Yeah, no. The age is 17. If you're 17, you go to the county jail as opposed to any sort of juvenile detention. For some individuals in high school, that means that potentially you can commit a crime and you will have to come in front of some of these judges.
I've had a few people in divert court that are in high school.
Adesela, you want to ask your question, hun?
Yeah. Okay. So my question is for the judges. I wanted to know, like, what if like a person comes like in front of you and says, yes, I'm gonna, like, agrees to everything you say, but yet then continues to fail to like, how do you say, like
carry
fail to carry with their to their agreement, and after time they still appear in front of you? What happens to them?
Well, I had one like that today, and then it's kind of what I gave in its solution is, we put them on probation. We ask them to do what they're supposed to do. If they don't, then a motion to revoke their probation is filed. And that's what we had, a couple of those motions to revoke. Eventually it comes to a point, if you keep violating the law or if you keep violating your probation, eventually you're going to end up in prison. I mean, there's no other place that you can. I mean, you can go through all treatment. You can go through, time after time after time. But if I'm on my 5th motion to revoke your probation, it's very difficult. I mean, there's not really a lot of places you have to go from there.
Let me answer some of these that I can answer really quick. What happens to a person if we swear them in to tell the truth and they say no? I've never had that happen before. I don't know what I would do. I would probably. That's a good question, Missy. What would you do if they said, you swear to tell the truth, said no? I probably wouldn't allow them to testify.
Yeah, I wouldn't allow them either. That's, you have to take that oath.
What was the longest trial that has lasted? I think mine was that capital murder trial, and it was 2 months, approximately 2 months.
My capital murder case, it took us 6 weeks to pick a jury, and then it was only like 10 days long. But the selection of the jury was rough. Usually they last, cocaine cases like 2 to 3 days, depending on how many witnesses there are. You can try an aggravated robbery in a week or 10 days, burglary, those type of things.
How often do you get cases of people that are in high school? For me in divert court, because it's for first time offenders, I would say I get a couple a month.
And we try to send ours to divert court. So David Judge Stith gets those, because if I've got a 17-year-old kid and he doesn't have any priors and we can send him to divert court, then that's what we want to do.
How often do teens like us have serious cases? I would say that's not unusual. There are many teens. I have had teens, people that should be in high school that have committed murders. So I would say there are a lot of serious cases with y'all's age group.
Judge, can I add to that? We also have a juvenile justice system out of County Court 5 that when a lot of underage or minors commit crimes, they're handled through the County Court 5 juvenile justice system.
And if I may just add to that, while the law requires or says that anybody you have to be 17 to be tried as an adult, there are certain serious crimes where even a 16, 15, or 14-year-old can be certified as an adult and be tried in adult court.
What if they swear to tell the truth, but they aren't fully honest? That is part of what judges do and jurors, depending upon if it's a jury trial or a bench trial or a hearing. Part of our job as judges is to decide if a person is being honest and to weigh the credibility of witnesses and people that come in front of us. So that is part of what we do.
And Judge, if I can add on that one, and if they take that oath and it's a verifiable lie, they can be charged with a 3rd-degree felony called aggravated perjury, which is it's a pretty serious offense.
Right.
There's one. How do you apply to be a correctional officer, Sheriff? This one's for you. How do you? Oh, it just went away on my screen. I think it said something like, "How do you apply to be a correctional officer?" and "How do they do a ride along?"
Yeah, and I sent the young man a link with,
Okay, good.
with an online job application. I look forward to him filling it out. And anybody can click on that link. I'll make sure it gets out there. Thank you.
I didn't see that. Great. All right, guys, it's any other last minute questions? I told them we would wrap this up at 11:45, so we're doing well. It's 11:40 I have right now. Any other, if you want to just not type them and just ask a question, that'd be fine.
If a bond is paid, does the inmate get released instantly or go through a process? Depends upon the nature of the offense. If it is a serious offense, when they make the bond, they're released to probation. Probation will sign them out with conditions. There are times that we order a person not to be released without a alcohol monitoring device or a GPS device attached to their leg. So depending, if it's a nonviolent offense, usually once you post bond, you're released. If it is more of a violent offense or something else that requires more supervision, you get released to your probation officer or a probation officer.
And last 2 questions, Ariel and Amaris, you had a question. Start with Ariel.
Oh yeah, so I was going to ask, because I come from the only experience that I have like viewing a trial is through mock trial, and in that you usually like it was a bit different from this, where you ask the witness questions to like clarify that, like attorney to witness. And so I was wondering, like, in what situations would you all do that, whereas there's like a cross and direct questioning?
Right. In any trial situation, Ariela, is that your name, Ariela?
Oh yeah, you can just say Ariel if you want.
Okay, Ariel. What we have is today was all pleas. Everything was agreed to or motions to revoke. We do a ton of those. I mean, we probably do 90% of pleas. But what you also have is when you're doing the mock trials, that's exactly what the jury trials are about, or bench trials. And then they call witnesses, and there was no witnesses that were called today. After the state calls a witness, they do direct examination. Then I pass it over to the defense attorney. Defense attorney does cross-examination. Then we go back for a redirect, then recross. That's where evidence is submitted. Those are all of that. So what you had today was just pleas and motions to revoke. So there was no questioning of witnesses for direct and cross-examination. Good question.
Amaris.
Thank you.
So my question was, if somebody gets charged with a crime and they say that they're an American citizen, but later on, like if they're serving their sentence or they've gotten away with it, what happens with that? Like if they're illegal, for instance.
David, you want to take that? They'll be deported.
Sure. So our duty as judges is to make sure that a person is informed of the consequences of their plea. If a person comes in before me and says, I am a citizen, and they really aren't, that's why I go through that admonishment that you heard me say about what the consequences are. And if they aren't, that's found out later and they'll probably be deported. But that our responsibility ends upon us making sure that a person is admonished as to the consequence of their plea if they were not a citizen.
No, as if them coming undocumented, like if they came illegally.
Sure. So let's say a person said, yes, I'm a citizen, but they really weren't. If that's found out through immigration later, then immigration is going to put a hold on them most likely. And immigration, which is a federal agency, is a completely different process, and they'll start the deportation proceedings irregardless of the state proceedings. So sometimes a person might actually serve their sentence, then immigration gets involved and deports them after they serve their sentence.
And if I could just add, that's why it's very important that our office take into consideration somebody's status whenever we're negotiating with the defense attorney. For me and everyone here that's a citizen, a DWI, we can probably live the rest of our lives and recover from it. But if you're a resident or don't have status, it could trigger a deportation. And so I may get some criticism once in a while because I do consider that, but we take into consideration in our office somebody's status because it can affect them, their families, the economy, and every other collateral consequence from not having status. So that's just what I do in my office.
And can I just add also that from a defense standpoint, the United States Supreme Court has mandated that we actually advise our clients of any collateral consequences for being or about immigration status. And so there's been some times where I've actually had to consult with an immigration attorney to get their perspective because I'm not very well versed in immigration law. And so I have to consult with them to figure out what could possibly happen if a case goes a certain route.
And that's exactly right, because there are certain offenses that if you get found guilty of it, it's an automatic deportation or exclusion or never getting your citizenship. And there's other ones that where if you get one, it's fine, but if you get two, then you're stuck in that automatic deportation category. So that's why they want people to advise of those situations.
All right, thanks, Mario, and thanks, Gabriel, for jumping in. One other thing before I close it down, I would like Leslie, David's court reporter, or I think Sharon, my court reporter, is on as well. If you guys could say something about it, because I want to say the court reporting is a great occupation. It's interesting, it pays well, and I think it's a great job. So I know usually when we're there live, everybody swarms around the court reporter. So if I can get Leslie or Sharon to say something to the kids about court reporting.
Oh, that's a good call.
They're going to be like Shem getting off.
I'm here, Judge.
There you go.
Yeah, so I mean, it is a lot. It is a lot different on here because you can't see my machine and what's going on here. But I've got all, let me see if I can pull this off. So usually, you can see my machine, which you can't really see it, but it's this, it's got all these keys on it. And it's basically another language. So whenever we start, I basically, me and Sharon, we write down everything that's said, both parties, everything that happens, so that we keep the record of what's going on and what has happened, so that, if it gets appealed, if somebody wants to go back and see, well, what did he testify to at this hearing? We can do that and pull it up and give somebody a record of it.
And also, like in the middle of a hearing, if we get distracted or there's an objection, I can say, Sharon, can you read me back the last question? Or if a jury has a question, we can search for it in the record. If they say, we don't understand what the witness said, did they say the car was blue or the car was red? We can search back in our records and find that in the record. Sharon, you don't have a virtual background. Can you lift your machine up?
Yes.
It just doesn't work in a virtual background. So if you can, since you're not virtual, can you lift your machine up?
Well, if I can.
It's like a whole setup. It's a whole thing. Yeah.
Okay. Do y'all see what we're talking about now? That is the keys, and that's how they write down everything that we have. But it's a great occupation. Thanks, Sharon. It's a great occupation. We are short on court reporters. I was very lucky. Sharon had just moved down here from another jurisdiction, and my court reporter of 30 years had retired. So I snapped her up real quick and got her in. Thank you, Leslie and Sharon. Okay, at that time, we're now running a few minutes over. It's 11:47. I wanted to take the time to thank Sheriff Hooper, the court call, the individuals in the jail, of course, Chief Warnke. Sorry, I didn't introduce you earlier. I want to say thank you to Mark Gonzalez, the district attorney himself, as well as Shem Vinton, my prosecutor, Eric Flores, my prosecutor, and Rumi Solis, the prosecutor for the 319th. We couldn't do this without the defense attorneys, so I want to say thank you also to the defense attorneys and for coming on, and of course our court reporters for taking down the record today. This will stay live on YouTube. If you all want to watch it at any time, you may. And I'm also want to say thank you so much for CCISD for reaching out to all of us and having us go through this. I think I forgot to say thanks to David Stith as well. So I want to say thanks for doing this with me and being part of this team. I really enjoy doing this.
It is fun. I love it.
And on behalf of the schools, thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate all that you've provided and the support, and definitely the experience, one to remember.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and if anybody has any questions, you can always reach out to any of the individuals here. You can find the DAs at the DA's office. You can find us in our courtrooms. You can find the defense attorneys, look at their names, call them if you need them, or if you just want to ask a question. Sheriff's office, same thing. You can reach them there. I really want to say thank you to everybody for doing this. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as we did.
Getting a lot of thank yous from the kids, and I appreciate them expressing their gratitude.
That's nice. Thank you guys very much. Thank you very much. All right, guys, have a wonderful lunch. We'll see you at the next Courts and Schools. It'll be on YouTube next time as well. And thanks for everybody for participating. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.